It's pronounced live, guys.
Live on the internet. I live on the internet. Do you live on the internet?
I'm extremely online, Adam. You know that about me.
Yeah, you're everywhere.
I'm everywhere people want to be. Then some other places they don't want to be.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Never on WikiFeet, though. That's always my rule.
Well, now I need to look.
It's not there.
I don't trust you.
It's not there.
Maybe we need to start that. Anyway, Hello. We're here, the full nerd. We're going to talk about PC stuff. Welcome to the pre-show.
Ahoy, hoy.
People say it's the best show.
Nope. Nobody's ever
the best
said
part
that.
of the show. I don't know. There was somebody in the chat who likes
we get a poll?
the pre-show. Yeah.
Do you? What's your favorent part of the show?
Yeah, it's the
part where we talk about the
show.
thing that the stuff the show's about, or the nonsense before.
Well, you want to talk about some nonsense?
Yeah, always. That's what we're here for.
I was at the store.
Oh boy, here it goes.
And I saw Cadbury mini eggs.
Oh, those are the dark chocolate ones.
It's
They're
the dark chocolate,
nope,
royal dark.
That's a trap candy.
Oh, these are the bad ones?
Those are bad.
Are you just saying that
because
because
the face Brad's making? That is bad candy.
Willis, have you ever tried these?
No. I like Cadbury cream eggs, but I don't like dark chocolate Cadbury cream.
These are mini eggs, not the cream eggs. These are the good ones.
Yeah, I haven't tried these ones, so I picked it up at the store,
candy.
the local store.
Here, look.
Yeah. I'm not a big boy.
Look, Adam. There's when they have the little the wiggles on the top. You just put them between two fingers and pull.
Oh.
And it tears perfectly.
See, I never liked opening
put your hand out.
I never liked opening the milk.
Oh wow, these
cartons.
are weird colors. Even
they're like.
Here, Brad, put your hand out.
No. They look like they have like a texture to them.
Yeah, they do.
Thank you.
That smells like chocolate.
These are gonna sound great.
Thank you. Right.
Oh, this isn't bad.
No, but
it's fine.
I'm sure
candy.
these are fine.
It's just candy.
I'm sure these are fine, but the other ones are good. The outside's nice.
It's just candy. Why do you hate?
It's a little chalky.
What's up, Willis?
Hey, my output resolution was set to 4K for some reason, and I can't change it back right now on my OBS. Should I?
How are we holding up? How's Task Manager looking?
I don't know.
We did swap out a 4080 in there, so theoretically.
Because on YouTube I'm getting an error, but it's not, I don't know if it's hindering anything.
Oh, it's because of the bitrate. Well, I thought we had the bitrate high for the build.
So if the output is on 4K, but we're supposed to be on 1440p.
Well, what you mean the output to YouTube?
Mm-hmm.
What's the bitrate on OBS?
Let's see.
Sorry, we're doing some live troubleshooting.
See, this is why we can talk about GPUs and stuff like that.
Stream status is poor.
We're right here in the files with you.
Yeah, we know what it's like.
How's everyone's quality at home?
Is it stuttery?
Let's see.
I can only select 1440p.
Yeah, that's as high as it goes for me too.
Bitrate's at 24.
Okay. Yeah. And the output is at 1440p?
No, 4K.
The output for going to YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's weird. Yeah, I can only get 1440p. Oh, you know what it is? Oh, okay. You're getting the error because we have the low latency chat up.
Should I?
No, because it's saying, hey, you're feeding me too much information. We're gonna downscale it, so that's fine.
That's fine.
It'd be fine. as long as the rig's holding up, it's Task Manager.
Because on YouTube, the stream status quality is poor right now, so I'm getting yellow. Status.
It's gonna yell at you because you're giving it too much.
I'm with
too much juice.
I'm with Devonish. I'm running everything at 144p now.
Ooh, is that the best way to do the stream? Also, it looks like Will is really out of focus.
Oh,
I mean,
change that.
144p, baby.
Yeah,
you can't tell if it's 144p.
Should I pause the stream on OBS and then
you're
change
fine.
the setting? No,
yeah, it's fine.
All right.
In Ruger 2, yeah. So anyway, all right. Hello everybody. Yeah, we're here live troubleshooting. I know you love it.
Woo.
I
just snapped off the Ethernet connector off my laptop trying to plug in, so it's just that kind of day.
Wait, you mean that little plastic little tab dingle
the thing that holds it in? It refuses to go in.
Those are the worst. Those are the worst.
What you do is you get a piece of Scotch tape and you loop it around and then you make a cross and you lay it flat across the top to pull it in.
Love it.
Snug it in there.
Who touched my settings?
Love it. All right.
Oh,
what? It's not bad. It's just chocolate.
it's fine, but the other ones
It's
are
fine.
divine, and this is fine. So you're comparing something that's merely okay to something that is a taste of God in your mouth.
Oh, you're hyping those Canadian.
They're
ones
really
up.
good. They're really good.
Wow.
They're
Okay.
tiny
All right.
balls of chocolate.
Wait, even smaller than these?
Yeah, they're smaller than these.
Really?
Yeah.
Are they like little pellets?
They're bigger than pellets. They're bigger than nerds. They're bigger than M&Ms. Smaller than these.
Bigger than M&Ms.
Bigger than plain.
Plain?
Probably about the same size as one of the big overs, like a caramel M&M. Probably about the same size as that.
Oh, man, Canada, they're going crazy over there. Anyway, we're going crazy here.
Yeah.
Hopefully, it looks like everything.
let's go.
Is doing fine. This is an episode of The Full Nerd. We're back home. We're not
remote.
On the road.
We're not live. We're not on the road. We're gonna talk about some fun stuff. Yeah, no, I don't have any more goodies in my bag that I can bring out. Cool. All right, looks like everything's fine on our end.
The hamsters are going.
Hamsters are going. Let me bring up the notes. Let's see. I didn't fill it out. That's okay. We're talking about DirectX.
It's like
have you heard of the DirectX box?
Yeah, it's
that's
Alex St.
why they
John
call it
and
the Xbox, the DirectX
and Jay
box.
Allard are coming together to make popped collars and PC gaming in console form fashionable again.
Did you ever meet Jay Allard?
Yeah, I met Jay Allard both before and after the makeover.
Oh, okay.
He used to look like kind of a dweeb, and then they shaved his head and gave him a hoodie, and a sport coat.
Yeah, he did
cool.
the hoodie sport coat
the hoodie
thing.
sport coat thing.
I think that was the first time I
they invented
really
that for
recognized
him.
that.
Like they had a full, like, that dude clearly either had a real nasty divorce and changed his look in a profound way, or they had like executive style people come in and make him look youthful and fun.
Nice. Okay. So everything looks good.
Everything's good. Hamster's running.
Cool. Then I say, Willis, if your settings are you good. And you got that image?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Cool. All right.
You ready for me to do my thing?
Yes.
Will's gonna do his thing.
Do your thing, Will.
This episode of The Full Nerd is sponsored by Nvidia GeForce. Nvidia has just released RTX Remix, an open source tool for making incredible graphics mods that was in beta until now. RTX Remix allows experienced modders to create RTX mods that breathe new life into classic games. If you're a modder, check out the link in the description to learn more about RTX Remix and start creating stunning RTX remasters today. And if you're a gamer, the Half-Life 2 RTX Remix demo is now available on Steam, so you can see this tech come to life.
In this episode of The Full Nerd, we talk about some PCWorld news, DirectX getting an update, and SteamOS on the way. And welcome everyone to episode 341. That is way too many episodes of the Full Nerd Podcast, PCWorld's premier podcast for the most nuanced hot takes on the internet about PC news. I am your fill-in host, Adam Patrick Murray, but I'm not alone. On this episode, I am joined by the head honcho of PC World himself, Brad Charkis.
How's it going, guys? It feels like it's been a while since I've been on here.
Yeah, why you been denying us your presence?
Because you guys are setting up these last-minute, things from GDC in the Nvidia booth like a day or two beforehand. So I
You
couldn't
could have come out, man.
Yeah, you could have just dropped everything.
Yeah.
You don't have anything going on, right?
Hop on a
just
plane.
chilling.
It's
fine.
like 7 hours. It's fine.
Well, you're also hearing the subtle sounds of one Will Smith. Hello,
I don't
Will.
think anyone's ever called me subtle before. Thank you. Adam.
Subtle?
It's the nicest
Yeah.
thing anybody's ever said.
You're just as subtle as those Cadbury mini eggs over there.
Now I'm offended.
You know who else is going to get offended is Willis Lai, controlling verticals and horizontals. Hello, Willis.
Hello, everyone. Happy Tuesday. Why would you say that? I'm not offended. I'm chill.
Well, did you try those mini eggs?
I have not.
All right. Well,
Oh, I gave him some.
I know. Yeah, you gave him
No,
some. He denied you.
You guys know I'm wearing a Invisalign right
Oh,
now.
that's
not
right.
easy for me to
Medical
sorry.
reasons.
Yes, I totally forgot about that. No worries.
It has restricted me from snacking a lot, which is it's a good control,
I know.
quality control.
I need to do that too.
Don't take candy from the strange man. That's the real lesson here.
Yeah.
I can guarantee you this candy I did not find on the floor. So
It was sealed in a bag.
Wow.
When
it
he
was
handed
sealed
it
in
to
a
me.
bag.
Count up.
Yeah. Moving on up. Exactly.
Yeah. Real classy joint we have here.
Yeah. Speaking of classy joints, I have a photo. So coming up this Saturday, is a Gordon Mong celebration of life. We're getting together a bunch of fine industry folks and family and friends and getting together and celebrating Gordon's life.
Having a soiree.
Yeah, it's going to be a good time. I'm excited. Going through the stacks of photos and hardware and stuff. I was talking with one Josh Norm from Maximum PC. Who was Josh?
Josh was the reviews editor for a long time, among other things,
and the host of the No BS podcast for a bit.
Maybe that might have been after I left.
Okay,
yeah.
But anyway,
so
he shared a Smug Mug album with me.
Yeah, Josh is a noted pet photographer too. Like he's done cool
Really
stuff.
good.
Going and has been invited to like sloth sanctuaries and stuff to take pictures of sloths.
Hopefully not pandas, because Gordon hated pandas. We know
Like
what Gordon thought
we
about
know
pandas.
what Gordon thinks about pandas. We don't need to get into that. But
anyway, he had this photo. He had plenty of photos,
Yeah.
which we're going to be showing off. But he had this photo specifically of Gordon in the lab testing, and I don't remember what he was testing, but he had a lot of hard drives hooked up. For audio listeners, Gordon has a lot of hair compared to when I knew him. He's looking quite young.
He's wearing the same pair of Levi's he wore the entire time I knew him.
Was this like a lab desk?
Yeah, so
this
this is a shot of the lab, and this is I think in the 150 North Hill Drive office in Brisbane, which film fans will know it as the place where the bad guys crashed and burned to death on construction equipment at the end of the car chase in Bullet. Like the famous car chase in Bullet ended in the parking lot of this building when it was being built.
That's funny.
But yeah, so
I can imagine Gordon really liked that piece of history. Trivia,
he absolutely loved it. Yeah, like we literally went to somebody went to a film screening and we watched it, and they came down. The car chase comes down Guadalupe Canyon Road, which is like a windy 4-lane, very low traffic road that a lot of people do racing on, and they were like, "Oh my God, this ends at our office!" And so anyway,
well, and it almost kind of looks like a car crash here on the testing bench.
So these are like wire metal frame, like L rack frames that you'd buy for utility shelves in your garage or something. We had I think 8 or 10 of them.
Okay.
They were like 3 feet deep and like 9 feet tall, usually with three racks, right?
Oh, and I see the frame going up the wall. So it had another frame over here too.
It had
okay.
It was like 8 feet long, 7 feet long, something like that.
Nice.
And they were great. They were great for working on because you could adjust them to be the height that you wanted.
Oh dang, man, we should get that.
But the ones you have are much fancier.
Oh really?
Like these were the JV low budget version. Okay. But so this, it wouldn't surprise me. It looks like this is four. Is this 4 Raptors? Is that what these are?
I don't know, but
looks like
somebody said it looks like he's installing XP.
That seems right.
Windows XP install on the monitor there.
This would have been in like 2000, sometime between 2002 or late 2001 and maybe 2005. I think is when we moved out of that office. So this could be like that NetCell RAID card, that weird NetCell RAID card that XFX made for a little bit. It could just be him testing something random though.
Also in the background, the people on Discord notice this blue pillar thing.
Yeah, so that's an external radiator that I think Zalman probably made. That you ran hoses. You ran hoses out of the back of your PC, and this was before anybody had reliable quick connects. So you had the hoses connected into your reservoir inside the PC, and then anytime you wanted to move the PC, you had to drag this 40-pound aluminum radiator filled with water and the hoses at the same time. It was a little impractical, but it was very cool.
What was cool back in those days is you could like drill a hole in your wall and put those big heat sinks and stuff on the other side of the wall, and then your office never got hot.
Yeah. That's a Linus Tech Tips video right there if I've ever heard of one.
Yeah. Oh, man.
My favorite thing about this picture is that his desk looks the exact same in 2001, 2005, whatever you said, as it did right until now.
Well, this is actually pretty clean for his bench, if I recall. I don't think this was the bench. Like, I can't tell exactly where this was in the lab. I don't think this was the one that was his actual bench, because he had one that was like a storage area for hoarding purposes, and then he also there was a floater bench that was also Gordon's bench that was like where he did his actual work usually, as I recall.
If there was a flat surface that didn't have something on it, Gordon probably went over and and put some stuff on it.
Oh, yeah.
Anyway, also I'm noticing that little desk fan he has there, this little white desk fan.
Yeah.
Those might actually be the one we have on our
probably
table here,
the
because
same.
he had a bunch of those that he would always use for CPU testing. So he would have his test bench, which was essentially just like he'd take off all the side panels, everything that you could, and so it was just essentially an open air bench. He would tape the AIO to the top of the bench with literally just duct tape, and then he would put one of these coolers one of these fans pointed right at the motherboard to make sure the VRMs had fresh air.
Yep.
Yeah. Anyway, I love it. It's been fun to go through all these photos. You can bring them down now.
Do you have the other one? The one of the desk? Or
No, I didn't. Well, maybe we could show it next week or something.
Okay.
But yeah, going through the photos has been fun because this is definitely a look into the time before I knew him, obviously.
Oh, yeah.
But also, seeing old photos of you, old photos of our boss John. I didn't find out till today. I was today years old when I found out that Will was one of those guys who goes around the office without shoes on.
Everybody did. Nobody wore shoes back then. Look, it was a sandal decade, man. Everybody was wearing sandals. It was Birkenstocks all the way down.
I mean, look,
a bunch of hippies.
I get it if it's your own household, Will, but office? Really?
Look, I wasn't the only one. That's all I'm going to say. Okay?
Tell me you live in San Francisco without telling me you live in San Francisco.
Look, I would never have, now San Francisco, I would never walk around without shoes on.
Friend of the show, Liquid R says, back in those days, shoes hadn't been invented yet.
Yeah, we didn't have shoes.
Wow.
Wow. How did we,
Wow.
Look, what they were paying us at Future back in the day combined, how would we afford shoes?
Wait, but I can't imagine Gordon going without shoes.
Gordon wore Gordon would wear normal shoes and wear boots or something, and he'd switch to those Adidas slides. He always had those around.
Yes, okay.
And he would wear those with white tube socks around, and we'd all give him grief about it. But he also would be walking around the lab barefoot all the time. It was everybody
really?
almost. I think Catherine was a sandal person. John was a 100% shoes person because he has dignity and pride.
And he's stylish.
Less so back then, but almost everybody. Well, okay, Gordon and I were probably the no shoes people when I think about it. Maybe the interns.
All right. Well,
Friend of the show, Ziv says, always be Flintstoning.
Always be Flintstoning. That's what we say around here. That is madness. Anyway, so we were talking about wiki feet. At the very top of the show.
It's the only time I've ever seen a picture of my feet right there.
Oh,
don't tell! No!
Wait, what?
No.
Here we go. I have a photo. It's
DMCA
going somewhere. Anyway,
you don't want a WikiFeed account on your permanent record. That's all I'm saying.
Anyway, we're here to talk about PC hardware, so we should get to it. Before we do, let's switch over to our first news segment, which happens to be about us. I'm actually really glad that Brad is here because it is about PCWorld. It is about Full Nerd. Our company, Foundry, for those of you who don't know, has actually been purchased by another entity. Not even that. We used to, IDG was our parent company, and we had two sub companies kind of under it, IDC and Foundry. Essentially, Foundry has been split off and sold to another company. I mean, we don't need to go into the details of it, but I guess my first question is, Brad, what does this mean for PCWorld? What does this mean for the Full Nerd? What does this mean for the mission?
Hopefully it means more resources, more opportunity to keep driving forward. The cool thing about this purchase is they're buying us for our media business. Like Adam just said, half the company before was the IDC analysts, half the company was us, Macworld, Tech Advisor,
all the B2B brands,
CIO, all that stuff, Computer World. And this company bought us for us. So the very next day after, they also bought TechCrunch, which is huge in VC and startup news. So they're acquiring some heavy hitters. Hopefully it means good stuff for us going forward. For the day-to-day right now, I don't think there's going to be any significant changes. Hopefully now that the sale is done, we've been kind of in stasis for a couple of months waiting for this to get done. Hopefully we can, put the foot on the gas pedal and get moving with some ambitions we have.
Vroom vroom, yeah. And for those of you who might remember, the previous owner of IDG was Blackstone, VC company, and then this new new owner of Foundry is Regent. For those who are asking, so we become sister companies with So what do they own? They own Military Times. They own Cheddar News. They own the Wonder Bra Sunset Magazine.
Supercuts.
Well, used to have.
Wait, they own
Supercuts.
Supercuts.
Used
the
to
hair care leader.
Used to have Supercuts.
Oh man.
So and then TechCrunch. Yahoo sold off TechCrunch, so TechCrunch is technically our sister company as well. So yeah,
I'm looking at their portfolio right now. So there's GamePro TV.
Well, I mean that's ours.
us.
Oh, that's ours.
Part of
That's
us.
part of it. Yeah.
Technically ours. Yeah.
That's why we can say pro tip without being sued.
Yeah, there you go. But I will say, just me personally, I'm excited. If anything, and who knows? I mean, futures always change. Of course, we know we're in the media business. Things can change on a dime. But I will say, if anybody would have went to our previous owner Blackstone and asked, "Hey, do you know what a PCWorld is? Do you know we have a podcast called The Full Nerd?" They'd be like, "You're just making up words." I actually got to meet the CEO of Regent. He was in the office last week. He came over, and not only did he love video podcasts and all that kind of stuff, super, cool guy. He looked at our library that we have that has all the issues of PCWorld and Macworld, and he's like, "Man, I used to subscribe to Macworld and PCWorld, back when we used to do the physical print editions." So if anything, just for a CEO of a large company like that to just even know we existed just feels like,
Wait.
you see me.
Are you calling him a huge nerd? Is that what I just heard?
I don't know if I'd call him a nerd.
Okay.
But he definitely loves he loves media. He loves the brands. Like he bought us because he loves what we do. So, that feels good. That feels good to be seen like that.
Mm-hmm.
So
He bought us for us, whereas some of our previous owners, thank you to them. I'm glad we were around, but it felt like we were just kind of glommed onto the IDC half of it.
Yeah.
So I'm actually super pumped for this.
Having been through these kinds of things in the past, you don't want to be and we also got such and such and such and such with the purchase.
yeah.
That's not the place you want to be.
Yeah. So and yes, friend of the show, Coffee, makes a good point that Blackstone is like $100 billion corporation. So I didn't expect them to know who we were, but either way,
It's a difference.
It's definitely a difference. And then Liquid R, just so you know, GamePro TV, yes, because GamePro, we actually do own the rights to GamePro magazine. It used to be produced by us, but it is now a dormant property. So. Yes.
Even after GamePro went dormant, I think they used to make special ones just for E3, right? Using the GamePro brand.
We'd have to ask Luis. I don't know specifically.
They did one-offs for E3.
Oh, really? Oh, okay.
Yeah. So Future did that too. Different years, but GamePro often the magazines would make special, you'd make a special run of a CES edition that was either a different set of ads or a slightly condensed editorial. So it'd be 25 pages or 30 pages or something instead of the 100, 200 pages, whatever.
And also, I mean, one of the things, so they own Sunset Magazine, so they still have at least that brand. They might have other brands that do actual print magazines. And he had asked me when he saw our library here, he was like, "Oh, do you guys have this digitized?" And it's one of those things that we've been wanting to do actually for a while, is digitize our big catalog of PCWorld and Macworld specifically. And he was like, "Oh, I'll put you in touch with our guy so we can, digitize it, get it up on the internet."
Oh, that's awesome.
To share, super cool. So
I mean, the way we were doing it, where I would pick out one article a month, was a little slow.
Yeah. So we got to digitize that history. That's definitely super important.
Yep.
Anyway, I guess. Yeah. So, I mean, nothing else really to say. People were talking about it in Discord. I know people were worried, but me, I'm generally a positive person anyway. So, I definitely see this as a potentially really good thing. But Brad, that's why I want to get your take to see. I feel like you're more even keel.
I've been through several rounds of acquisitions at this point. This is the most optimistic I've been walking into one of them. So I'm pumped for it.
Nice. I dig it. Good stuff.
It's always good when they want you and like I said, that's the good sign, is when they're like, "Hey, we wanted this business," not, "Hey, we got this other business and you got dumped in with them."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So maybe I'll start a Sunset magazine about or a Sunset podcast.
Yeah.
I don't know if Sunset has a podcast, but yeah,
I mean,
the full Sunset.
Look, I used to love Sunset magazine.
But it's like a lifestyle. I don't even know if I've read it. It's like a lifestyle.
It's a lifestyle.
like
it's the kind of
home
thing that often you'll
decor
find
or
in
something.
doctors' offices and stuff like that. But it's like a lifestyle. It's like a West Coast living magazine. Brad's not allowed to read it. He's off the list.
Oh, it's West Coast living
West
specifically.
Coast.
I'm going to be there
okay.
next week
West
and have to
Side.
do something. To tell.
That's funny. Anyway, yeah, I guess that's it for that news. Breaking news. You heard it here first. Now let's get over to some serious news.
Yes.
Moving over to DirectX ray tracing, like a protocol under DirectX.
You mean DXR?
DXR, yes, thank you.
1.2?
1.2 was talked about at GDC last week. We were there. You were
Game
there.
Developer Conference.
I guess
yes.
real quick, did you have a good time at GDC?
GDC's always great.
I know you talked about it a little bit over on the Tech Pod.
Yeah, we
Brad
talked
and
about
Will
it on the
made a
Tech Pod.
Pod.
I went down. Let's see. After we did the podcast last week, I
On
went
Wednesday,
down
yep.
and spent some time at the Alt Control GD. You were with me.
Yeah,
and then I went
we
back
walked-
again later and played some of the
okay.
games.
Yeah, I didn't play anything.
But we saw we talked about it on the Tech Pod a lot. I won't repeat because I know people listen to both podcasts. But
You mean techpod.content.town?
yeah, that's the one. We talked about Alt Control GDC, which is it's mostly student projects where people make games that use custom or weird controllers to play them.
They had
So-
a cat butt one.
Yeah, so
That
there
was
was
my favorite.
a game called How to Pet Your Cat.
Which
that
is not the right way to pet your cat, but you just sit there and slap its butt.
It was an enormous cat butt.
It
Just to be
was
clear, it's
like
4 feet across.
ginormous
Yeah.
is what I'd call it.
Like each
yeah.
bun was bigger than a cat. I don't even know if
much
cats
bigger.
usually have buns, but yeah, people were wailing on that. There was a pirate game where you had to aim the cannons on the ship by working a seesaw with another partner.
Oh, is that what they were doing?
Yeah, yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
That
okay.
sounds rad.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there was a game called what's it called? Clench the Stench, which was about a dystopian office situation where like they budget cutted the toilets out and all that was left was one portalette down the street a little bit. So you had to race
is that
your
what the chair one
coworkers.
was?
Yeah, so you were
Okay.
sitting in an office chair and they were using office chairs as the controller. So like you shimmied right and left on the spinny chair
That's what it was.
to like get it going, and then you'd bang the armrest up and down to bounce or lean. And it was like you had the race was always like you versus your coworker to see who could get into the portalette first because you didn't want to go second. So
Yeah,
it was
yeah.
definitely a student
you don't wanna
project on
go
that one. There was
That
another.
reminds me of the old. That reminds me of the old VR.
Oh yeah,
The original before Oculus came out. The early days of tech demos when you'd go to things and just every wildest crazy thing you could imagine,
Oh.
and I love it.
Oh yeah, well, and it's the cool thing about it is like all of this exists because of stuff that spun off of phones, right? Like Arduinos, which were the kind of early microcontrollers that made it easy to turn C code into either sensor input or some sort of actuation with a motor or whatever, or light, whatever sound. Made this kind of stuff go from being like something you had to have like really kind of complicated electronics degrees for to just can you write a basic C sketch and upload it to an Arduino and know what kind of sensors and stuff to use for the different inputs you need. And it's really fun. Like there was Chroma Corp, which I think we watched some people play for a minute. Adam.
Oh yeah, like the corporate booth.
Yeah, it was like
kind of thing.
Severance. They made a Severance game about
didn't see
stealing
it.
color from the world, and had a bunch of like bespoke controls and like there weren't even really screens in most of the workstations. So you'd sit down
Oh,
with
I
like
didn't
5
notice.
people and you had to do certain tasks, and like one person would be yelling at everybody about what the things they should do, kind of like a space team or something like that. It was a lot of fun.
Well, what was the overall? So did you go to some panels? Did you go to
I went to a couple
talks?
panels. I did
Yeah.
a lot of like my GDC these days is a lot of sitting in
Networking.
meeting rooms and talking to people about the business of making games.
Ah, the business. Well, and we had. I feel like we had a good episode last week with Theo.
Yeah.
From
Goosebite.
Goosebite, the game The Signal. Go wishlist and follow
Yeah.
over there. PC Gamers.
Wes Fenlon.
Wes Fenlon stopped by. That was a good time chatting
Yeah.
with him. Just talking about the state of the game industry. I thought it was a good chat, but yeah, we're here specifically on this episode to talk about an update to DirectX. So apart from this news, which I do want to get into, I guess the first thing I guess I'm curious about, because as a layman, as somebody who doesn't understand this stuff, I always thought the DirectX was one of those things that like it comes out with the spec, kind of like PCIe 7 just came out with a new spec or whatever. To say, hey, here's the spec. Everyone should start building this, and that's what we do. And there's usually point numbers. There was 9 and 10, and then 12. For some reason we skipped 11. Is that not?
Did we had a DirectX 11?
Did we? Oh,
yeah.
Or we missed 10.
That's what
we
like,
did a
most
10
games
too.
ran on.
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
DX11 was wildly popular for a really long time. DX10 as well. But DX10 started in like 2008, maybe. It was a long time ago now.
Well, but it's one of those things where I guess is it still that way? Are they putting down specs that either hardware companies or software companies need to start working towards? Or I guess I don't fully understand the relationship with DirectX.
So the standards making is always it's standards making is wild. Is the answer to your question. Because in the old days, the way this would work is somebody would come up with a new standard, and then they'd submit it to the SIG for that standard, and then they would just
for hardware,
and they would just say, "Oh, okay, that's going to be Rev 3.1 of whatever standard it is." So like that's how PCI Express, like Intel basically came in and said, "Hey, we have this idea for this thing called PCI Express. It's going to be serial. You're going to be able to, it's going to go faster over time. It's going to be really good. We're not going to have to keep changing the connectors every 3 years." And then they submitted to was that the PCI SIG still, I guess, or did they make a new SIG for that?
No, it's still the PCI SIG.
Yeah, and then AMD and everybody else gave input to that. But basically, the early revs of those specs are the thing that the first person submits, right? And then there's iteration over time, and other companies come in, but it's almost always driven by the companies first, and then then they get their whoever gets their spec to be the standard is often the winner. And when this doesn't happen, you have things like HD DVD and Blu-ray splitting off, where Hitachi was like, "Oh hell no, we're not going to let Sony own this again. That's a disaster." And they paired up with Microsoft and Toshiba, and we're like, "Look, we got this." And then they did not got this. In fact,
wait. So, and is DirectX in that consortium equivalent to PCI SIG on the hardware side?
So DirectX Microsoft stuff is a little weirder because Microsoft is a solitary entity, whereas the SIGs are typically formed by members from a bunch of different companies. So like on the PCI SIG at this point, it's probably Intel and AMD, and I bet there's people from like ASUS and AMI, the BIOS manufacturers, and it's a wide Qualcomm, Nvidia, all these companies. Microsoft is Microsoft, and they just do what they want at the end of the day. And they have a lot of power because of the Xbox to drive that is the answer. Because often what ships on the Xbox ends up being the thing that's real.
Wait, so I guess digging into these details, are they couching this? Is this DXR 1.2 update meant to both satiate console and PC?
This will be the thing that people can use on consoles. Now, whether AMD hardware that ships on the next gen consoles supports it or not, there may be a DirectX 1.3 that's that hardware.
Oh,
this is to give a DX platform for stuff that Nvidia wanted to be more cross-platform and not part of their CUDA stack, like the Tensor Core stuff is.
Okay. Well, let's dig into it then, Brad, because did you write the article over on PCWorld?
No, Mark did actually.
Oh, Mark did.
I
okay.
was on Friday.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So there's a link down in the description if you want to follow along for the update stuff. But Brad, just give us a high level. What is this? Why did they make this? What does this update entail?
High level, it's basically what Will just said. This is basically standardizing a couple of features that have already been in Nvidia RTX GPUs since the 40 series. So both of these are already, the hardware is in there. They're working in Nvidia graphics. The idea is that Intel and AMD also, and developers obviously, also have these capabilities. There's
and they had Qualcomm on that list as well.
Qualcomm, anybody who works with PC graphics or Xbox graphics is going to be interested in this.
Mm-hmm.
It is part of this talk. But basically, there's two major features to look at. One is opacity micromaps. What that basically does is, so when both of these deal with ray tracing, obviously, we're talking about DXR. So what this does is when you have fine detailed things like hair or fences or foliage are the examples that have been thrown around online all the time because they're the best ones. This gives it a way to measure how transparent or opaque parts of that are. So like picture a leaf. Like in the middle of that leaf is going to be opaque. Like the ray is going to hit there and stop.
Like where the stems are and stuff like that, right?
Yeah. Yeah. When you get out closer to the edge, obviously, when you're at the edge of the leaf, the ray should go right past it because it's going to the background, it's going to the light, whatever. Parts of that leaf that are closer to the edge might not quite be opaque, might not quite be fully transparent. This basically lets developers put stuff in there so that the GPUs can use those opacity measures to figure out, hey, before it gets to the shaders have to do calculations to continue the ray tracing if it's not fully opaque. So what this basically does is if the center of that thing is opaque, the ray hits it, stop work, send it to the shader or continue. If the ray keeps going, it's a transparent area, it keeps going, you don't have to worry about that. It's that middle area this is really addressing, like how transparent is this? That's when they can send it to the shaders, and the shaders can do its work to figure out exactly how to render it, which is pretty computationally expensive. And so this is a way to get rid of that expense at either extreme.
So, and the idea is that like when you have a lot of translucent objects like leaves, you don't need precise ray bounces through them because the translucency is an imperfect, you don't need perfect representation of the light in there. So you can save a lot of calculation by saying, hey, once this hits a leaf, you don't have to calculate rays off of this anymore. And that's it doesn't matter so much for like ears. Like if you think about how ears if you're standing behind a bright light, you see through the ears. There's not that many ears, it turns out, in video games, but there's a buttload of leaves, and there's a lot of each strand of hair, stuff like that makes a big difference.
Yeah, and it wouldn't matter so much in something like Cyberpunk, let's say, where it's all hard surfaces and reflective stuff and stuff like that. It would matter a lot in a game like, say, Stalker, where you're full of the forest.
Yeah. Oh, I can. Or Alan Wake 2, when you're in the forest scenes.
Yeah,
Remedy was the developer who was helping Microsoft show this at GDC, so that's
really? Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's interesting because one of the things about the early wave of ray trace games is that they don't have a lot of foliage. There are a lot of hard areas. There are a lot of wet pavement and glass and shiny metal.
Oh, like Control,
and Watch Dogs Legion and all of these games, and you see the stuff that's happening with the DirectX with the mega geometry stuff. That is in Alan Wake now, and things like that are all serving to make doing high foliage areas more possible, which is exciting.
So, and the idea is that building that into DirectX is something that the hardware manufacturers could then spec towards.
Yeah, but it also means that the developers only have to write one code path. So this is the benefit of having. So the difference between, say, like Nvidia's renderer, which they often will have a relationship with Remedy or with Machine Games or with Studio Project Red to integrate their specific vendor-only technology into the game. Now there's a non-vendor specific platform, a path for this through the DXR 1.2.
But this doesn't mean developers and hardware manufacturers need to spec towards this. It's just like, hey, everyone should be doing this because this would help.
Well, it means that if you want to support these kinds of features, like if you want to have a ray traced game with a lot of foliage, like Indiana Jones in the jungle levels, right, which has an enormous performance hit right now, you can use, instead of using NVIDIA's proprietary stuff that only works on NVIDIA cards, now there's a vendor agnostic approach, assuming AMD, Intel, Qualcomm, everybody else, right, hooks that come back into this.
Is there a good example of this being done in the past that we could also
every
point
time
to?
there was a new feature that was added to DirectX, this has happened.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So the thing that I think a lot of people don't understand is that in the old days, like up until DX10, really, right, there was in order to the video card pipelines were mostly fixed function, which means that each pixel went through the pipeline in essentially the same way. And there may be like little shader programs that could manipulate some of them here or there, some vertexes here and there. But for the most part, it was just straight raster based pipeline. Now everything is so like since DX10, but really since DX12, the reason we don't see the reason like so in the DX8 timeline, people would come out and say, look, we can do God rays now. And that God ray thing was because there was specific software, specific hardware on the card that would let them calculate how to draw rays that were partially obstructed and stuff like that. We don't do that anymore because now we just have general purpose compute on the GPU that developers can choose to use however they want. They can use it for ray tracing. They can use it for God rays. They can do it for volumetric smoke. They can do it for dynamic lighting, whatever they want. It's all possible. It's just now we're like accelerating weird edge cases that we find like this. Like, hey, you don't have to do full ray tracing calculations on a light after it hits something that's translucent.
So this is a good thing.
It's a good thing.
This is okay.
Yeah. Anytime you see a new DirectX ray tracing feature, anything like that, it's generally a good thing.
Has there been a DirectX feature that was implemented as part of a spec that then no one ended up using?
Yeah, there's a ton of those.
Okay.
A bazillion.
So it could go either way.
Yeah. Direct storage. Hey.
Oh, yeah, direct storage. Yeah.
I mean, actually, that's not fair. There's a bunch of direct storage games, just nobody cares because it turns out PCIe 5 SSDs, even PCIe 4 SSDs,
are fast
plenty
enough.
fast.
Yeah. Okay. That's funny.
Yeah, it's good for the Xbox. Doesn't work so well on the PC.
Yeah.
The other major feature is called shader execution reordering. Am I saying that right? Yeah, shader execution reordering. So again, this deals with ray tracing. Again, we're talking about DXR. And the idea is to get, when GPUs are processing scenes, like they group the shaders into groups. And then those groups all do whatever task they're supposed to do. Back when it was pure rasterization, it was easier. Now that ray tracing, all these different features, especially path tracing, are involved, it's wildly more complicated. So picture like a bunch of rays shoot out, hit a ball. Depending where it hits that ball, it shoots in different directions and hits like the rug on the floor. It hits the wood wall behind you, goes up and hits something else. Typically, that would all get put into the same group that was originally casting off those rays, and it would have to do all those different processes and then kind of figure it all out in the end. It's not efficient. What shader execution reordering does is it works behind the scenes so that like when it goes off and it shoots those rays and some go and hit the rug, it groups together the shaders differently so that this particular group is all working on one task. This other group is working on another task. This other group is working on another task. Again, this has been in RTX 40 series already, and it actually makes a huge difference. Like you can see it a bunch. If you go back and look at the 40 series, especially in Cyberpunk, takes advantage of it. It's a big difference. It just makes ray tracing run much more efficiently, which can help, frame rates and performance. Typically there is a bit of an overhead, but it's usually small, at least on these Nvidia chips. So it makes up the overhead in what it's gaining in performance for ray tracing here. But the idea is basically like, if you got a bunch of workers working in a factory, rather than having one guy unzip the box, take everything out, run it over, put it on a shelf, take the stuff, put it on another shelf. You're like, okay, you three guys, you're running the shipping department. You three guys, you're the packaging department, so on and so forth. That's basically what this is.
It's all to keep the GPU for like bits and pieces of the GPU. You want all bits of the GPU working all the time, right? Not some sitting idle and some waiting for other bits.
And it makes a huge difference. Again, it has been in NVIDIA RTX GPUs for 2 generations now. There's a fantastic site called Chips and Cheese. Folks who follow us probably know Ian Cuttress. He does a lot of work with them. They actually 2 years ago when this first came out did a really good deep dive. If you're interested in the technical bits about how the GPU actually works, Chips and Cheese did a thing called Shader Execution Reordering. NVIDIA Tackles Divergence, and it's well worth the read if you're interested in the deep dive into how this works. Now the idea is, Intel and AMD can also spec towards this if they desire.
And Qualcomm.
And Qualcomm. Sorry, I'm
I don't know. It was on the
only
list.
been
It was
around
on
for
the
less
press
than a
release.
year.
Yeah. Yeah.
Qualcomm's been around for a long time. I've only been paying attention to them for
Yeah.
a
Well,
year.
hey, Qualcomm says they're in the game now. So
Is Qualcomm still using old Power VR tile rendering GPUs?
I'm not sure off the top of my head.
yeah. We'd have to call Mark on that one.
Yeah.
Anyway, okay. Oh, and they talked about this at GDC because obviously this is a developer thing, but can we glean anything in the future? Like how soon are we going to see the fruits of this labor? Is this like a hint towards next gen consoles? Like, can we extrapolate anything from this?
I wouldn't hold my breath.
Oh, okay. Nice big, nice big deep breath.
They are helpful features, though. Next-gen consoles are a couple years off. We'll see. Like, this could be kind of pointing, like, these are the kinds of things we'd like to see in the next-gen consoles. But I agree with, we'll see what happens. Shader execution reordering in particular, we've already seen it work, and it's great. So it would be great if other vendors got in on it, too, not just Nvidia. Opacity minimaps, I don't think we've seen too many examples of that in the real world yet. So, TBD.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, interesting. Well, I mean, out of all the GDC stuff, I that was one of the one that stood out.
I thought that was pretty good. The Nvidia neural shader talk was good. Was interesting, but like it's super technical and is like hey, this is a few years in the future for every like if you're starting now, you might apply this neural materials rather, not neural shaders.
Yeah.
And then that was pretty much it. They had a couple cool demos.
All right.
We talked about them last week, though.
Cool. Yeah. Good stuff. Anything else on this topic before we move on? Or GDC
No, just
in general?
Things like this are good to see. As Will said, standards are always good. It gives developers one thing to shoot for. And these, like especially shader execution reordering, they work. So again, it'd be great if that picks up traction, because Nvidia already showed it can work. It would involve restructuring on Intel and AMD's part. I don't know if they've announced much about supporting this, but I'm sure they will. They were also on the release.
The reason it's good, just to be clear, is right now if you're CD Projekt Red and you have every developer in Eastern Europe working on your game, like it's possible to make a pipeline for PlayStation and Xbox and AMD and Intel and Nvidia cards. But if you're a smaller indie dev and you want to support ray tracing, you also have to support a non-ray tracing path, right? Because there's not enough ray tracing cards in the market if you want to sell enough copies of your game that you actually make money. So you're like looking at like 8 renderers to support both both modern consoles, the Switch, PC ray tracing, non-PC ray tracing, and Nvidia specific features. So if this means that all of the PC graphics cards and the Xbox can be one render pipeline, that's a ton less work for the who are probably the busiest programmers at your studio. And that's a good thing, right? Like that's a really good change. So then between that and the stuff like the AI upsampling being built into DirectX, which they announced ages ago now, like there's way fewer split pipelines. But it's less of a choose your own adventure, and it's like, okay, we're gonna support PlayStation, we're gonna support DirectX, which is all the PC and Xbox, and we're gonna support Switch, and you don't have to do 50 different versions of the renderer, which is really nice.
I heard the Xbox was called the Xbox because it was supposed to be the Direct Xbox.
That's what Alex St. John told me.
Yeah. All right. Anyway. All right. Cool. Yeah. Fun stuff. Thank you for trying to explain that to me, gentlemen.
Do you have clarity now? Do you understand what's going on?
No, I still don't know how to make games, but at least the episode last week was we did get some good feedback on people who were like, oh, it's fun to hear how games are made. So I think it's good to follow up on that stuff.
For anybody who didn't listen to it at the time, it's worth going back to. I think Theo did a really good job of explaining like the challenge and the million ways that you can step on like when you start making a game, you're basically just laying out infinite rakes in front of you, and whether you step on some of them or all of them is the only choice. Yeah. It's like there's nobody's gonna miss all of them.
I like it. All right. Well, we're getting let's move over to the next topic, which is near and dear to my heart, which is SteamOS. But before we do that, I do want to take a minute to thank our sponsor, Nvidia GeForce, for sponsoring this episode. I will say that they are obviously sponsoring this. They sponsored the episode last week. RTX Remix is out. That's the big thing. They want people to know that if you're a modder, you can go in and remaster some games. Use their tools to help make things snazzier looking.
It's surprisingly easy to use.
Yeah, the actual tool itself.
If you have a DX9 game, you can download it. You run the DX9 game, you like inject some business, and then next thing you know, you're like, you can go in and change textures. You can make, like, if you wanted an all black version of Mirror's Edge, you could make that happen. Like they're there for that.
There you go.
I don't have a physics card anymore though, so.
I'm sorry. Just take an old 8800 and drop it in there.
There you go. No, the 1080 Ti. I tell you, that's your best second GPU slot. Yeah. Anyway. So yeah, RTX Remix is out. There's actually a video over on PCWorld. I should link it in the description. I did a video kind of having one of the Nvidia reps walk me through the new Half-Life 2 RTX game or mod that you can get on Steam right now. It's free. You just go down to Steam and download it. You have to own Half-Life 2 to be able to play it. But it doesn't change anything about the actual gameplay. It's just essentially adding things like path trace lighting, up-resing the assets, in some places actually adding new assets. Really good talk over there. He also showed how to like enable the developer options to like turn things on and off and kind of look how things are working in the back end, which is pretty cool.
I loved the part where you opened up the dev console and he was like, okay, if you don't know what subsurface scattering is, here's what subsurface scattering is. Here's an example of how it works when you're shining light through like a character's ears, right? Like,
yeah,
it's really neat.
Because I feel like if I would have downloaded this on my own, I would not have wanted to touch those developer options. But yeah, so that was when I attacked that video, I was like, ooh, actually, I really want to. Can you explain this to me on video so that other people who might not be comfortable going into the developer options can also do it themselves? So I think that was fun. And then the second half of the video, I sat down with one of the lead developers at Orbifold Studios, who is a team of like 150-ish modders from across the world who put this project together. Really cool guy. Somebody in the comments of that video said that he looked like an RTX on version of me, which I thought was kind of funny. Really nice guy. But I asked him a lot of questions about like how do you sit down and say, ooh, well, I know what Half-Life 2 looked like 20 years ago. How could I make it look like it was something made today, or how could I make it look better, or like what was their original vision? How do we make it look better? Because that's daunting, right?
I mean, you're taking one of the best games of all time, like the most highly regarded PC games of all time, and saying, I think we can make this better. But there's a long history of that, right?
And it's a passion project. Like all these people really love Half-Life 2. They're sitting down trying to like make something that's really cool looking.
I forgot when they start. When did they start the project?
2 years ago, I think is what he mentioned. Yeah. Working on it. So
far, I think they've just done Ravenholm and the Nova Prospect, right?
That's what's in the demo right now. And I did try to ask him like, hey, when is the whole game coming out? They said the only thing he would tell me is before Half-Life 3, which is probably pretty easy of a sell. He said that there plenty of the other team are working on other parts, but for this demo, they wanted to have Ravenholm be like the kind of showcase for lighting, and then the Nova Prospect area to kind of be the actual having it all in gameplay action kind of scenario. So anyway, a good interview over there. You should go watch it. Fun. Yeah.
Yeah, I had nothing to do with it. I do watch every video that we put up on the site, and then if they're
99%
of videos, I'm like, hey, Mike Kreider, the guy who was on here a couple of weeks ago, I'm like, hey man, can you write an article about this and get the video in there so people on the site know about it too? We don't always do sponsored videos, and that video was sponsored by Nvidia, but that video was so cool. I watched it and I'm like, oh man, this is a cool video. Explained a lot that I didn't even know I wanted to question. And when Mike read it, watched it, and then did his article, he said the exact same thing. Like, this is a super cool video.
Yeah.
So like, I totally recommend going and watch that if you're even remotely interested in the technology.
I sat there and watched Adam record it when he was talking to Niall, and then I
and all the F-bombs
when it came. Yeah.
You were like, wow. Alex is the one who edited it, and he edited all those F-bombs out.
Yeah.
Actually, no, I will say real quick, just apropos of nothing, behind me, like we were taking a while to film it because it's a lot to film. John, what is his name from Digital Foundry? John Linneman. Yeah, he was like behind me waiting for his turn in the demo, and I turned around and I was like, oh man, wow, I should not be holding
better
up
ask
Digital
smart
Foundry.
questions.
Yeah. No, John was an awesome dude. Good times, but. Yeah, no, it's a fun project. RTX Remix. I'm not a modder myself. I actually, to be honest, like I don't like downloading mods or like installing mods. I'm kind of like a bare bones kind of person. But that's why I like this RTX or this Half-Life 2 RTX Remix demo, because you literally just go to Steam and you download that version of the game and you play it. You're not having to like go in and like add any files into folders or anything like that. So
that's easy.
It's in terms of somebody like me,
nice.
like that was okay.
And just Lewis Law, friend of the show, Lewis Law says, I still haven't played any Half-Life games. I'm going to go ahead and tell you, Half-Life 2, I went back and played some after this came out just because it's always nice to see what's going on. Half-Life 2 is still incredible.
Oh yeah.
Like the physics is janky by modern standards, but this was the first time we saw physics in a game, right? It was the first time we had like any kind of deterministic physics that would work in a way that you could make it part of the gameplay, and it was really fun. So yeah.
Hats off to Orbifold Studios. Thank you to Nvidia for sponsoring this episode. Go download Half-Life 2 RTX Remix free on Steam, or go over to the link in the description if you want to download.
I think you have to own
RTX
Half-Life
Remix.
2 to get it for free.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
You have to,
you have to have
own
Half-Life 2, but that's like
Half-Life 2, it's like
$2. Yeah. So anyway, but now let's move on to SteamOS, because I think this is something super interesting. So Valve has been talking about having a version of SteamOS that can be just downloaded by anybody, and SteamOS is specifically what people would recognize as being on the Steam Deck right now.
So that means you get all that sweet Arch Linux goodness.
It's the year of the Linux.
None of that Fedora nonsense.
Yeah.
Like Bazite uses.
Yeah. It's the year of Linux, and this actually, we joke around about it a lot, but I actually think this could be a huge thing for us PC gamers, which is really cool.
You think Linux is going to be the big deal in 2025? You taking my prediction?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I think I can't remember where we predicted it, but somewhere on the internet.
Year of Linux, baby.
Anyway, too bad Elena's not here. She could bring up her Linux
She loves
talk
Linux.
again. Yeah, she loves.
She's a big fan.
Huge fan of Linux.
Yeah, number one.
Anyway,
she has a penguin tattoo, is my understanding.
So I've been using Bazite on my ROG Ally X. For those of you who don't know, it's essentially the SteamOS, back end. But
front end, actually.
Front, yeah, whatever. Working on a non-Steam Deck handheld, and essentially having feature parity in a lot of ways, and actually in some things it kind of expands on it. Anyway, ever since CES, I had a chat with Pierre Lou, who works at Valve, about SteamOS, and the big news there was that Lenovo Legion Go S was going to have two versions, a Windows version, which is already out, and I have one, and then the SteamOS version, which is coming out soon. Pre-orders are up on Best Buy right now.
Whoa.
And supposedly it's going to be launching fairly soon, and supposedly there's a big update to the beta branch of SteamOS that is kind of allowing some of these features to be had. So friend of the show, Carrie the Fox, had a video over on his YouTube channel this weekend about him taking that SteamOS and installing it on, oh crap, I can't remember what he installed it on. Original ROG Ally. Yeah. And then ETA Prime had a video as well doing the same exact thing. So right now you have to jump through some hoops to get it to install on a non-Steam Deck, but it's close. The groundwork is there. And I think
does it handle controllers and stuff? Like you have to remap a bunch of controllers like you do on the ASUS one?
It depends.
Okay.
Because I can't remember the one that ETA Prime used. It might have been the Lenovo Legion Go S2 or Go S. There was some buttons that aren't mapped. Like I know Carrie had the ROG Ally X, the extra buttons that they had there were not mapped to anything specifically, so you couldn't really bring up the overlay. Right now, the TDP controls were capped at 15 watt.
Oh, that makes sense. Yeah.
Which, I mean, but the RGLIX with the X1 Extreme, you can go higher. So it's not fully implemented. For a half a second, I was like, ooh, do I want to go do this? And I'm like, nah, actually, no, it's still not publicly released yet, but it is close.
You don't want to look. Beta Linux is a different level of beta than you're accustomed to.
Yeah. Either way, they did some kind of initial testing, and I think what this is going to allow is essentially Steam Deck-like experiences on devices that have more beefier hardware. Right? I mean, the Steam Deck is awesome, and you can still get a lot of mileage out of it. But I also don't think the Steam Deck 2 is anywhere near around the corner. I think what they're doing is working on SteamOS, saying, hey, now we're partnering with other companies to allow it to be downloaded natively, or even just come out of the box natively on these other devices to get that experience over there, and to say, hey, you know what? Well, we got the Steam Deck over here, which is a good price for performance option. But if you want something more and you're willing to spend some more, then come check out our partners over here. I'm excited about it. Brad, did you read any of this news?
Yeah, I'm pumped about it. Like, I've been looking forward to this coming out for a while. Back when SteamOS first came out with the Steam machines, I was one of those crazy people who downloaded it to an extra desktop and was playing around and stuff. It was not polished, but this should be a lot more polished. I'm looking forward to it, especially what it means for those handhelds. Because like the Legion Go S, we did a review of it, and our reviewers like, it's very ergonomic. It feels great. The chip's a little underpowered, but why does it cost $730? That makes it instantly, not very competitive with a lot of the competition.
Yeah.
By having SteamOS on it, you can void the Windows license, and that's going to be, I think, $499, $599 for the Legion Go S.
Well, there's going to be two flavors. One with the Ryzen Z2 Go chip, which is about a 6800U kind of equivalent. Yeah. I can't remember the Radeon, 680M maybe is what that Radeon is. And then there's going to be a Z1 Extreme, which is essentially a Z2 version. But anyway, a little confusing on that.
But yeah, so it'll be much more affordable without Windows. So that alone will be good, because all these higher end devices coming out now all run Windows. And to me, price is very key for these kinds of devices. And having Steam OS, which is running wonderfully these days, available as an option, like I would opt for that over Windows on a handheld. I have much more limited experience than y'all, but I really don't like Windows on handhelds. So
no, it's
I'm
bad.
all for this.
I'm okay with it. Like,
it's bad.
I'm able to get around it.
Just get on board with the it's bad team, Adam.
Fine. I mean, but either way, like having something that has SteamOS out of the box, or at least the ability to like dual boot out of the box.
Yeah.
But well, I'm excited for it, and I mean, you're a handheld gamer. You're excited.
Yeah, I'm like, look, this is the dream. I think there's two interesting things that are happening here, because Bazite has kind of taken this spot, right, as a de facto, as the de facto choice, and it seems like they're kind of starting to shift into, hey, what if you have a more general purpose PC that you want to run games on and on Linux? I know the latest version started supporting secure boot and whole disk encryption and the kind of stuff that you want if you have like a Linux laptop rather than just a Linux gaming box.
Oh, interesting.
So they're like I think, because one of the first questions I had is, what does this mean for Bazite? Because Bazite is like, it's not taking over the world, but it's a big deal in people who play games and people who run Linux space. Because it makes all the Proton stuff easy. You can, if you have the right graphics drivers, you can run the full 10-foot UI for the Steam Deck on it, and they built pre-configured versions for most of the popular handhelds, which was really clever. I think if the SteamOS stuff comes out with, like, they're going to support the stuff that sold a lot, right? You're going to have Rogue Ally and Rogue Ally X and stuff like that. The question I have is, are they going to support 1 million INEO boxes? Are they going to support like the first version of the MSI Claw, which uses a different chipset and is Arrow Lake instead of an AMD
Meteor Lake,
Meteor Lake instead of like a APU.
Oh, Lunar Lake. The new one is Lunar Lake.
The new one's, but the first one was
Meteor Lake,
right?
Yeah.
So yeah, like I'm interested to see where that split is. Regardless, it's good. It's good that there's more choices. It's good that Valve is actively supporting this, because it's great for OEMs, like if I'm an OEM who's been having to compete with Valve and also paying the Microsoft tax, I'm thrilled at this news, right? Because this means that they, like to Brad's point, they can shave off whatever they're paying for their Windows license, and at the same time give users a better experience. That's a double win as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah. And I definitely think, like, for the people who might want Windows, I know Robert Lawrence talks about anti-cheat. You know, there are some games that still don't run natively on SteamOS. Like, some of that work I think is getting done on developers' end. But hey, you know what? You can just dual boot Windows on it, and then you're the one who has to bring the license key. So it's not on them anymore, which is nice.
Well, and so the anti-cheat, in most cases, the anti-cheat is a choice to not support the smaller platform at this point, right? Or in the case of Fortnite, it's, I think Valve and Epic, or Tim Epic and Gabe Valve are having a beef about the percentage of every sale that goes to Valve versus game developers on Steam versus Epic Store. And as a result, they're not going to support, like, because the version of anti-cheat that they use for a game like Fortnite is available in Linux on other games. It's just Valve, Epic's choosing not to enable it for Linux gamers because they're predominantly Steam Deck purchasers.
Well, I think we're talking about this for the nerds that are big into handhelds, which theoretically is a pretty small audience. Which some people were asking. Rainzy asked, did Microsoft ever actually change anything in Windows to make it more handheld friendly, like they said they would? There has been some rumblings of like somebody saw in some sort of video that accidentally leaked that Windows had Steam, some sort of hook into Steam in the Xbox app, so that you could like have your games in there. I don't know. Like I think Microsoft is going to be doing something, but I also don't think the market is big enough that they're going to do like a whole different version of Windows for handhelds. Brad, you had something to add to that?
I'm shocked they're taking so long to do all this stuff. Like they've been caught super flat-footed. Like one of the news that came out this week was they're finally adding a new virtual keyboard in Xbox style. So you can use the Xbox controller, and it's just as easy as using that with your Xbox, which is something that should have quickly and easily happened 2 years ago.
Yeah. Well, but I also feel, I mean, listen, like when you're Microsoft and you have to worry about Windows across, millions and billions of devices around the world, and then there's a bunch of handheld nerds over in the corner being like, come on, why aren't you giving me something? They're like, dude, we've got other bigger stuff to deal with. Like, I don't know. Gaming
is one of the remaining like bastions for Windows PCs. I would have been fighting this tooth and nail personally.
Yeah. Well, and who knows? Maybe they did see that they were caught flat-footed, but it's taking way too long to turn that ship. So, maybe there's stuff coming. Ship. Yeah. Either way, the other thing that I wonder is that even though SteamOS is going to be a really good thing for handhelds, like, man, when that official release comes out, I am going to go ahead and install it on my home theater PC. Or not my home theater, but like the one I use to just game on my TV.
Does have a big Nvidia GPU in it, right?
It does, yeah. Well, yeah, we'll see how that goes. But
I mean, there's Bazite builds that the Nvidia GPUs are working well on now, apparently. So.
Well, but I mean, like either way, like I think that's a use case that I'm very curious to see if companies will start releasing. Like this gaming tablet I have from Asus here, or like a gaming laptop, right? Or a set-top box, or like somebody who just has a PC, essentially just gaming on it. Maybe they have a MacBook or something, and then they game on the PC. I don't know, but I do wonder how much adoption uptick will be over there as well, because it's not just handhelds. Like theoretically, other versions of the PC can take advantage of this.
My strong hope is that this support rolls out sooner than later and include desktop builds. If they could have this available before Windows 10 goes end of life in October, that would be its moment, I think.
I mean,
right?
Yes, but also Arch is not the OS that I would put normal Windows users on to start.
But if they were just gaming.
If they're just booting straight into the 10-foot interface, sure. If you want to use it for other stuff, it's like Arch will let you make mistakes that will cause you real pain if you're using your computer for actual stuff.
I
you can get by as long as you keep it simple, like LibreOffice, Firefox. You can get Chrome for Linux. Like you can get by if
you're Edge. You can put Edge on there.
No, thank you.
That just feels like the computer would.
Yeah.
Look, you just no, man. You got to get that. You got to get all those good. You get the Bing. You get the Copilot on Bing. It's fantastic. It's everything you want.
So Elena's not here, but here, here's a pitch for her. Yeah, maybe that's her thing is when Windows 10 officially ends support, she has to start using SteamOS as her daily driver.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding. No, but I do think there are enough people who just use a PC just for gaming that it might be way easier to just deal with SteamOS and have because right now. Yes, the pain is felt on the handhelds as well. You got to update Windows. You got to go to the Microsoft Store, update over there. A lot of time, either Lenovo or Asus or whoever has another app that you got to download firmware updates over there, and then some sort of overlay kind of thing. SteamOS would simplify that to be like, hey, you know what? You download and update your games here. You can update SteamOS here, and that's all you have to worry about. So that would be nice.
We'll see what happens. I'm excited to see it finally starting to happen, even if it's just on handhelds at first. Hopefully, it will spread to desktop PCs in time. I'm pumped to see it. Hopefully, it happens soon.
Yeah, this could be the revolution that the PC is waiting for.
Year of Linux, baby.
The year of Linux could finally be upon us.
Look,
Willis, you do some handheld gaming.
Oh yeah.
Would you consider installing that on your system that you have under your TV?
I can dabble. I can see myself. Yeah. Dabbling with Linux. I just need Will. I'll just need to call IT support, which is Will.
$200 an hour anytime you
What?
need help, Willis. Look, I'll give you a discount, $150. 25% off right there.
Really nice.
Boss, I need $150.
It turns out this is why none of my family members ask me for tech support help anymore. It's weird.
That's the right way to do it. Super interesting. I think we don't know officially. Valve hasn't said anything, but I do feel like we're mere weeks, if not months, away from
the rumors say June, and somebody in chat said it's based on Debian, the beta maybe, but that seems
SteamOS.
Yeah, everything I've seen is that they're sticking with Arch for this. I can't imagine they would fork off onto a whole different architecture.
Yeah, I doubt that. So we'll see. Are you excited? Oh yeah. What was the poll that you had asked? It's the pre-show. Your favorite part of the show.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's just a side note. Or maybe your favorite part of the show is the viewer Q&A.
Oh, questions and answers.
Questions and answers.
Yeah.
If you got a question, get them in right now in the chat. If you're live at the Full Nerd Podcast, so we could see it a little easier.
What else?
If you're watching or listening to this later, there's a link in the description over to Discord, and we have a channel over there called Full Nerd Questions that you can put a question in there, and hopefully we'll get to read them over here. I'm interested to see some of these questions that we have over on the fine folks over on Discord. I'm just gonna start going backwards because we just got a huge deluge.
Wow.
Is that a right word?
Yeah, deluge is a word.
A deluge of questions that just came in as we've been podcasting here. Friend of the show, Very Sneaky, says, is 2025 the year of affordable 4090 level gaming?
I don't think so.
Define affordable, and 4090 level gaming, you're probably talking about 4K.
If you're a billionaire, you're going to be fine.
Yeah.
It'll definitely be affordable. If you're a multimillionaire, probably still cool.
Yeah, I don't know what this question is referring to specifically, but
if you have a $10,000 gaming PC at home, you're good to go.
Don't worry.
I mean, the 4090s are still going for more than they sold at launch, so I think that alone answer no.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah.
That being said, with upscaling and especially now with DLSS 4, you can get pretty good experiences for more affordable money, but it's not 4090 level.
Yeah. So over on the chat, let's see. I'm going to read this as UR4NU5 is the name.
I think that's Uranus.
What?
It's a planet.
I think that's Uranus.
Uranus. That's look. There's a standards body that is an accepted pronunciation. Sir.
Uranus. Question.
Uranus. It's between Neptune and Saturn.
No. Question. Get the Switch 2 or wait for the Steam Deck 2 in 2026. Okay.
I don't know if there's gonna be a Steam Deck 2 in 2026.
Also, I don't know. I feel like those are two separate things.
Yeah, one is the place that I play Mario games.
Yeah.
And the other one is where I play everything else.
Yeah.
I'm actually flying out to San Francisco later this week, and I'm super pumped for it because I haven't touched my Switch in like 2 years because I haven't traveled that much. And this is a chance to break out Mario versus Rabbids again, and I cannot wait.
Oh, man.
It's a great game.
I was going to say,
Never
Tears
played
of the
sequel-
Kingdom will
sequel.
destroy you. You'll just be in there.
Yeah. I don't know. For me, I'm just going to have both. Secondly, assuming the Steam Deck 2 comes out in 2026, I actually think that that's a pretty big assumption. I'm okay. I'll maybe put this at the end of the year for our predictions episode. But I don't think there will be a Steam Deck 2 this year or even next year. I think Valve is going to focus on propping up the rest of the ecosystem and be like, oh yeah, we have the Steam Deck, But if you want to get something more, Asus or Lenovo or whatever partners out there have other higher end options. They've seemed to have signaled that they're going to wait for something that's truly transformative compared to the Steam Deck, and I don't think we're quite there yet.
My bet is it's not until we see new consoles.
Yeah.
I forgot where I saw it, but I read somewhere that Valve is targeting, like, they wouldn't even consider Steam Deck 2 until they get about double the performance. So we're not quite there yet, unless you have some crazy GPU inside of a custom APU.
Yeah, so I'm going to say that your only option right now in the next year or whenever the Switch 2 comes out is the Switch 2. So I think that's...
But honestly, like, Mike Crider, the dude who was on here a couple weeks ago, did an excellent article when the Switch 2 was put out. It was like one of those versus articles you see all the time. Steam Deck versus Nintendo Switch 2 is a stupid argument. Because one's for PC games, one's for Nintendo games. That's really what you got to answer your question and buy based off of that. It's all about the games.
Yep. I think they were also the ones who asked about, will I be testing the Switch 2 versus something like the Steam
we do
Deck?
say always be testing.
Always
here.
be testing. Oh, here we go. It was that same questioner, Uranus. Will you guys do performance benchmark comparing the upcoming Switch 2 to the Steam Deck or the original Switch? We don't focus on consoles here, so it wouldn't be like a Switch 1 to Switch 2 kind of thing. But I definitely want to buy one for myself. And so I will be kind of experientially
I think a
testing.
video comparing the Steam Deck to the Switch 2 would fall right in our purview if you're interested.
Oh no, I'm saying like a video specifically of like
Switch versus
Switch 2.
Gotcha,
the Switch 2 is going to be better. I can tell you right now. Switch 1, like 8 years old. Switch 2, brand new.
Also,
that's easy.
I'll tell you, all those people like assuming that the Switch 2 is going to be some amazing juggernaut performance-wise compared to the original Switch. Nah, boy. I was arguing with somebody over at GDC, and I was just like, come on, Nintendo, they don't.
It was me. You were arguing with me.
Well, not just you. There was another person as well. I'm always arguing with you.
Really, that's what we always say. Always be arguing.
Always be arguing.
Hot takes.
Yeah, I do feel like Nintendo is going to go pretty modest. So I'm not expecting.
I still think they're going to more than double performance off an 8-year Tegra, though. So I think it'll definitely be
that's not going to be hard.
Look, I think you'll be able to run Nintendo games at 4K and everything else downsampled and then down-resed and then upsampled.
Yeah, we'll see. We got a question from friend of the show, Raphael Hassel. Asked, are you rocking the Strix Halo? Yes, we have a review over on PCWorld.com from one Mark Hockman. He reviewed this Strix Halo Asus ROG Flow Z13, I think is the name of it. And then I asked him to send it over to me so I could do some testing. So yeah, I just barely have like set it up and started messing around with it a little bit. To tell you the truth,
thick.
It is thick. It's a tablet. The tablet form factor isn't doing much for me, just to be honest.
On a more traditional computer?
Yeah. But man, is this thing powerful. And even though it's like, this is an Asus ROG, I mean, you can see at the top here, it says Republic of Gamers.
Yeah.
This is aimed at like gaming, but I actually really this is not where I'm interested in like doing my experiential testing. I want to take this to Computex and do my work on this thing. Because like, yes, it's awesome for gaming. We've seen the benchmarks. I've even messed around with a little bit myself. But like, I don't think this platform is like meant for gaming. I think this is more like a Mac Mini kind of platform.
It's such a small desktop replacement computer. Like it's like a 12-inch screen or something. 13 screen.
Yeah,
it's bonkers.
Or 13 point something. It's a taller aspect ratio.
That chip, that Ryzen AI Max or Strix Halo or whatever you want to call it, that chip's insane though. Like the GPU in there is as fast as a 4060, even some downclocked 4070s. Like that's insane.
Yeah.
That's the thing that I think would be dope if you could get SteamOS on that, because a lot of people just want to game and run AI benchmarks. If you can get freaking Linux installed on that thing with SteamOS, that might be humming.
Yeah, right. But yeah, no, I like.
I can put Linux on it right now. Let's go.
Let's wait for that.
I got a thumb drive right
I will
here.
say that this version is just the 32 gig version. They do have a version that goes all the way up to 128, I think, of memory.
For memory?
Memory, yeah. Which obviously that's not for gaming.
No,
that's not going to help anything on a.
I don't know. I think 32 gigs is starting to get a little small for your high-end ray trace games at this point.
Well,
How about
but for this mobile chipset, this is the 8060S is the graphics chip in there, which is awesome, super crazy, especially compared to other handhelds. But I don't see it as like what if they put this in the Steam Deck kind of thing, because they're not going to do that. Yeah.
How about for video editing?
Yeah, video editing, photo work, I'm very excited to put it through its paces. I specifically, this one is the AI Max Plus 395. It's the one I have here.
What's funny is it's a tablet, but from this angle, it looks exactly like a laptop, like just as thick as a laptop off the viewpoint I have, stuff like that. Like it's just a laptop with the
Yeah. I mean, I miss having a number pad. I'm kind of a weirdo to have a number pad. I know.
There's one in there. I can just grab it.
I like
for
bigger
you.
screens too, so the screen is a little on the smaller end. It's not as small as that 10-inch that one that I had. That was too small. Like I couldn't do that. But anyway.
Oh, the thing with the pop out.
Yeah,
that was a weird
why
one.
can't I think of it?
Doesn't matter.
Anyway, doesn't matter. Robert Lorne asks, you can allocate how much RAM you want to the GPU for GPU usage. Yes, it's actually pretty easy to go in the UEFI and change it. It actually came default at 4, but then the reviewer's guide, they said, hey, it's going to start defaulting to 8 in the future. We recommend you go and change it to 8. That's how Mark did it for his review, yada, yada. Anyway.
And it's a big difference if you do. So if you buy one of the early ones, change it to 8.
Yeah, especially if I mean, I don't know. I still can't imagine somebody would buy this for gaming specifically. This is definitely for, I think gaming is a nice secondary on it probably, but anyway. Okay, let's get to some more questions over here. CosMC has a whole list of questions. Asks, is 2025 the year of RT, ray tracing?
Yeah, I think so.
And?
That's it.
Okay.
No, I mean, look.
And why?
There's enough hardware in the channel. It's stopped being as much of a vendor-specific novelty. Like the new cards from AMD and Intel are both capable ray tracing cards. Nvidia's had 2 or 3 generations, depending on how you feel about the 30 series. And it feels like we've had enough time from the launch of the 20 series that we're going to see some big 5, 7, 8 year dev time AAA games, GTA 6, that'll come out maybe in the next year that will take advantage of the hardware in a way that's meaningful and fun. And the ray tracing stuff improves. It changes the bottlenecks in the games in a way that's really interesting to me, that makes everything look better. Because you're not doing it like part of the challenge, and Theo talked about this last week a little bit, is we'd gotten really good at hacking our way to things that looked pretty good with the traditional raster pipelines, but you don't have things like self-shading, right? So if your arm is up, that arm's not ever going to shadow anything else on the rest of the character. If there's a jacket, that jacket's not going to shadow the inside of the character. So instead of having clothes that open and flap, we have clothes that are just essentially painted on and are use shadows and textures on the textures and the height maps and stuff. So they look like they're real, but they're really not. And now we can just do it for real. It makes a lot of things a lot easier. It also makes a lot of things harder. So, but we're going to see more and more games this year.
I agree with that. I still think path tracing will be relatively, minimal over the next couple of years, but I think ray tracing features specifically we'll see a lot more of this year.
Well, and the thing is, once you build the second render, like, because the thing is, you still have to build a raster renderer for older parts, unless you're just gonna say, hey man, you need a 2060 or newer to play this game, which Indiana Jones did that and seems to have worked out okay for them.
I actually think the new Assassin's Creed doesn't have a fallback either.
I think that's true. Yeah.
So
like, if we're at a point where you can make a game with one render pipeline and you're not doing a Switch version and you're only going to be on new consoles and like, it makes it much more possible. So,
yeah. I'm also curious to see, with Nintendo coming out, like, if Nintendo's never going to go out in a presentation and talk about ray tracing performance because their audience doesn't care about that. But I do wonder if the actual guts of the system, like, will have any sort of, nod towards ray tracing at all. Because to me, that's a masses device for sure.
But I mean, I think Nintendo builds hardware for 10 plus years, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that you're going to see some sort of tensor cores so they can do AI upscaling, which is what's going to open up 4K for them. And I think you're going to see some sort of ray tracing, because, like, I'm wildly curious to see what the people who made Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom do with a modern rendering pipeline, right?
Yeah, right. Oh,
yeah,
that'd be crazy.
Like, I just, like, that Nintendo has such good visual style, and, like, they hide massive hardware deficiencies with incredible style.
Sometimes not hided.
Well, I mean, yeah, but then you look at, like, Super Mario Wonder, which is a gorgeous game, and it's like a rock solid 60 on the Switch. And I would love to see what they can do with like the same level, the same quality of artists using all of the bells and whistles that are on a modern GPU.
Ivan RS, is 2025 the year of SteamOS?
Sure.
I'm going to say no, because I think the rest of this year after it comes out, it's going to be pretty enthusiast. But if I'm having to put some money on something, or, eating some paper at this point, I think that next year, if at CES next year we have vendors other than handhelds that have SteamOS out of the box, like a laptop or a set-top box or something like that, then that's like, oh, okay, this is the year of SteamOS, which I think we could get there, but I think it's going to take a little more time.
Yeah. I mean, look, we got to get to the year of Linux first, and then we can get to the year of SteamOS after that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and this year is the year of Linux. CosMC also asks, did we address Will being a podcast trader on Craft Computing podcast, which I don't remember the name of his Jeff's podcast.
Something about drinking.
Oh, I think it's like Always Be Testing or something.
No. Always Be Testing is what we say.
I know. Okay.
I went on a couple weeks ago and talked to Jeff.
What the hell? Did
Look,
you even
man,
talk to Brad about this?
No, I don't have to.
Did you even talk to the other Brad?
I'm a hired gun. I can do whatever I want, man. Like, if I'm not here working for you, I can go.
Wait, so you weren't being a trader then?
No, I wasn't being a trader.
Yeah,
it was just I even talked about full nerd business.
Yeah.
I promoted. That's off the clock.
Yeah, nice.
Talking Heads.
Talking Heads, thank you. Yeah. I actually got to get a beer with Jeff after he crashed our stream on Thursday. Or no, well, the stream was Wednesday, and then Thursday I got a beer with him. So always good to catch up with him. He'll be at Computex too, so that's exciting. All right, some actual questions. CosMC is trolling for VC Jester. What is the new company's stock ticker? We need to buy PCWorld stock. I don't know. Are they publicly traded? I don't think they're.
No.
Okay.
No.
Sorry. Also, what's the Regent's CEO's take on Alien versus Aliens?
It's the right one. He's the right one.
Yeah,
clearly.
I forgot to ask him, but
we should have asked him that.
I bet he'd be an Alien guy. I'm not going to put words in his mouth, but I mean, the right choice.
Gordon loved Alien, right? That's the thing we always.
Oh
yeah.
Huge
fan.
Exactly. Also, did Blackstone keep the belt? Who currently has the belt? Willis has.
Back there.
Oh, where is the belt?
To your right.
Oh, you hung it back there?
Back.
Nice, sweet. Oh, you can kind of see it.
Sort of, yeah.
Somewhere over there. So
yeah. That's the tippy top over the monitor.
I like
over
it.
Brad's monitor.
So we still have the belt. Blackstone does not keep the belt. Kraken, friend of the show, Kraken asks, can Adam finally do a GPU smell test? The smellier bar is the better bar, or it's the better test. Okay, so they bring this up because over on Discord, people were talking about Steve over at Gamers Nexus did a teardown of a Yeston. I think Yeston is how you pronounce that name.
Yep.
A Yeston waifu GPU.
What does waifu mean, Adam? I've never heard this term before.
It's like the word wife, but then foo at the end.
Okay.
Wife foo.
Huh.
Yeah, I don't know. That's just how you pronounce it. Anyway, Atlantis. Thank you, Ziv. And I guess it has some sort of, I actually haven't watched the video, but it has some sort of scent stick in it.
Oh, no.
And I am all here for it. If you know, I've been trying to push this idea of a scented thermal paste, because imagine when, you're doing some gaming, and your system starts to heat up a little bit, and then all of a sudden you just get this nice waft of cinnamon or clove, and you're just like, ooh, this is great. It's just making my
tears.
The tears,
yeah.
Sure. Yeah.
Bathwater.
So I would say, Yeston, thank you for watching The Full Nerd, because you obviously watched this and got that idea for your GPU. I'm probably not. But I totally want to get this in. I don't even know if you can buy this in America, but hey,
They shot the video on Ocean Beach in San Francisco, clearly.
Yeah. No, you showed me that. I showed you the video of the GPU, the 9070 XT that was floating in the water, and some cosplay lady picked it up and started dancing with it. And you were like, "Hold on, that's the beach in San Francisco."
Yeah, we could be there in like an hour.
Yeah. So yeah, I guess maybe they do sell here. I don't know. I don't know where Steve got it, how he got his hands on it. You probably don't want to ask those questions.
Yeah, no.
Either way,
he probably had to sign something.
Either way, imagine the GPU gets warm. And it's just gonna put off a nice little scent. Come on,
I like it.
Nobody else is on for this.
No,
come on.
No, I like you're weird.
Do you not burn candles in your house?
No,
or incense?
No,
diffusers.
I'm allergic to everything.
See, I call myself a candle bro. I light candles all the time. The problem is, what if you don't like the smell?
Yeah,
like that's super objective. So what if it starts blowing out cinnamon? You're like, oh, I freaking hate cinnamon.
Yeah, what are you gonna do? Get a Yankee candle and light it up inside your case so that it blasts out some turbo cinnamon or something?
Yeah, Borea says we need a poll. We need a poll. I think. Well, listen, in the future, in a theoretical future, where Yeston has a whole range of waifu cards that you can pick out, and you can pick out the different scents.
Vanilla, chocolate.
Exactly.
No way, man.
You know what I mean? Because yes, you're right. Right now it's restrictive, if you don't like that scent, that kind of sucks. But then again, I guess it sounds like it's easy to take out. I don't know.
Look,
but I'm here for we have candles in our place. It sounds like Willis is all about.
You know what my favorite smell is? Activated carbon. I put a HEPA filters and activated carbon in every room. No smells, none.
And you wear a bunny suit. It's like a clean room.
I wish. We've been spring cleaning and pulled everything out of one room so far, and like wall to ceiling cleaned the whole thing. Bleach. I live in the fog zone, so we have to spray bleach on the walls once a year.
What if it smells like bleach?
No, I don't want it to smell like bleach.
What if it smells like Pine Sol?
No.
Okay.
I want unscented. Everything should be unscented.
Hey, there we go. Hey, each GPU, will have a version that also says unscented.
Look, I'm going to go ahead and let me explain. Let's do a little role play here where I'm the Best Buy purchasing person and you're the person suggesting that you should take up.
I work at Best Buy?
No, I work at I'm buying video cards for Best Buy.
Who am I?
You're selling me a bunch of different scented video cards.
I'm the Yeston
and you're like,
representative.
Hey, I have 4 video cards that are exactly the same except for different stenches come out of them when you turn them on.
No. One of them is unscented.
Okay, 3 video cards. That's still a different stench. Okay.
Yeah. Hey, I have 4 GPUs. We have an unscented, but we also.
What's the difference in them all?
Well, one of them doesn't have a scent. The other 3 has different versions of waifu scents.
And you want to get space on my shelves for that?
Yeah. Like I'd say, like 80%.
We're going to charge you 4 times the placement for that.
No.
It's 4 slots.
If you're going to allocate,
See, we have a limited number of shelves in our store.
I know, but how many
spaces
you can
in hot
fit?
demand.
12 GPUs? Maybe 8 of those are
So you
or
want,
nine of
one,
those are
one
unscented.
slot, and you want
and 3
cards.
of those.
You want people to have to ruffle through the cards to find the right smell.
Yeah, it's clearly
We're not gonna
printed
do
on the
that.
box.
No,
that
we're going to
it's-
sell the
it's-
unscented ones because the rest of these are for crazy people.
Well, but then they're not gonna get the full experience.
That's fine.
We
We're
have to have
comfortable
them
with that.
smell the waifus.
Realistically, we're not going to have any of these in stores for years anyway. So
True,
yeah.
I'm not sure if you lost me or got me with waifu sense, but you definitely did one of those two things.
Okay. Hey, listen, tobacco. Every once in a while, I'll see like a scent on a candle that I'm just like, oh, it's like burnt forest floor, and I'm like, oh, okay. Well, I don't know who wants that one, but patchouli. My wife loves patchouli. I'm not a big patchouli
Look, and
fan,
you
but
accuse me of being a hippie for not wearing shoes in the Maximum PC office.
I didn't
And his
say
house
I
smells
liked
like
it.
patchouli.
Yeah, I didn't.
I accidentally bought some sandalwood beard oil once,
That's what I use. Yeah.
and I was like, okay, this does smell kind of nice. But about 5 minutes in, I was like, no, God, no, get this away from me. This is horrible.
Man, Willis put in a podcast or a poll. Which choice of scented GPU would you like?
Yeah, everybody's smart, but you.
One of them is durian.
Hey.
12% of people.
Yeah, I'm not going to get on the durian train, but I'm glad it would exist. That's all I'm
Right.
saying. Anyway,
Oh.
Blue smoke scented GPUs.
Okay, well, I don't know about
I don't want that.
I don't know about GPUs that intentionally smoke. That's probably not a good and taste. You don't want to start getting that taste game. But anyway,
Look, what if you just put a vape thing in your computer, and you just drop your vape juice in there, and you can get that purple nurple going.
Purple derp.
Yeah, you got your grape ape blasting out of the back clouds, fat clouds out of the back
Granddaddy
of your PC.
actually, well, there's I can't remember the channel on YouTube, but there's a lady who made a PC that will also brew cappuccino.
Yeah, that sounds like a great idea.
Who is that? I can't remember that channel. Somebody will remind me of the channel.
Look, you just need your raspberry fizz blasted in there. It's everybody's.
You know a lot of weed flavors.
These
off the top of your
vape
head.
flavors.
Vape flavor.
There used
whatever.
to be a vape shop in my neighborhood, and they had signs out there. Were always
okay.
there was good names.
I used to drive by. I would look at the signs.
I'm just
You're
interested.
sniffing
I'm
from-
curious.
You're
Look.
sniffing from outside of the store.
Yeah, you guys don't have a sub-ohm vape going all the time? It's just I'm ripping fat clouds, right? I love those videos on YouTube where the cloud rips happen.
Yes, Nerd Forge. Thank you. That's the YouTube
Yeah.
channel that has the computer that also brews coffee or cappuccino or something. I don't know. Anyway, yeah, Ivan R also asks, should the Switch 2 have should Switch 2 has to have RT capabilities? Okay.
I think so. We were just talking about that.
we're just
I
talking
think
about
it has to have some sort of basic ones. I don't think Nvidia would be open to creating a chip for it without RT at this point, to be honest.
Seems unlikely.
But it is so low end of the stack, though.
Man, 10 years. They have to last 10 years, and they're going to want to sell games that can run on other platforms. Like it's pure insanity if they don't do.
I agree with that.
Because in 10 years. In 10 years after the PC and console space has moved on to ray tracing, you're going to have like Nvidia, Nintendo will be operating in like it will be like using Russian computers in the 2000s.
Wait, isn't it kind of already like that though?
No,
Like there's not a lot of like ports that pan out well.
But
Usually Switch games are developed for the Switch.
that's a larger problem.
Yeah.
But the point is, the thing that they do now where they cloud render AAA games on the Switch is not a long-term winning strategy.
I wonder how many people bought those versions, actually. I bought them just because I was curious.
I mean, I'm
But,
sure
yeah.
enough.
Yeah.
Like if I was making Hitman and had to pay for cloud rendering of that, I would be terrified because that game is weirdly open-ended and people come back and play like the Paris level over and over and over again. And it's every time they do it,
Yeah.
it's just more money out of your pocket.
Yeah. Anyway. Okay. Let's get to some more questions over here. We have a question from Master Procrastinator, friend of the show, Master Procrastinator. So I'm building and configuring 2 new PCs soon for family members. Congratulations. One Nook for my brother-in-law and one budget gaming PC for my nephew. What are must-to-dos? So I don't think they're asking for buying advice. I think they're saying what should they do to configure them. Software I have to install, stuff I should configure for them, recommendations. I would say first off, go into the BIOS and enable XMP Expo, whatever, the RAM kit provides, right? I would say make sure it has all the security features on by default.
Yeah, I agree. Get rid of Norton if that's or whatever if it's pre-installed. Friggin' turn on Windows Defender scheduling. Get
Yeah.
rid of all the bloatware. Like if they like Steam and they're not super technical, get Steam and stuff on there.
I would
rip out all the crap and put the basics that they need on it.
Yeah, put on and give them tools like the install the tools that will update chipset drivers and stuff like that for them. So either the Intel driver updater or the Nvidia app or the AMD Adrenalin software, I think is what they call that one.
Yeah.
That kind of stuff. Like think about what your sane defaults are. Get rid of all the crap that people don't need.
Yes.
Do the thing like turn off the Windows taskbar web search. The Bing traffic booster feature in Windows.
So I actually sent a small mini PC to my grandma.
Yeah.
And then I got on a Zoom call with her to help configure kind of the last steps. But I did configure it beforehand. I installed Windows. I ran all the updates, did all those default kind of settings, make sure all the drivers were up to date. Downloaded whatever web browser she wanted. She wanted Word.
Brave.
No,
Arc?
she wanted
What is
Chrome.
using?
She wanted Chrome.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I downloaded that, set that to the default. I got Excel and Microsoft 360. Like she was like, oh, I want Excel and Word for sure.
Yeah.
So we got that installed. She actually, and I didn't know this was a feature, but my mom has a Microsoft 365 account for the Microsoft Office stuff, and she could add her as a family member to that. So we had to go through that process. I had actually never been through that process, and it was a little hairy because she didn't actually have like a Microsoft account. So we had to create a Microsoft account for her to use that. But yeah, so like it was fairly straightforward to get all that stuff kind of set up. Yeah, I mean she's not doing a ton with it. But I wanted to make the experience as simple and streamlined as it could for her so she doesn't have to worry about stuff. She did text me afterwards. She was like, and I can't remember the exact phrasing, but she was like, oh, hey, this thing is asking me if I want to do Windows backup or something like that.
Oh, yeah, Windows backup is the thing that they use to replace the old sysinternals tool. And it just uploads all your crap to OneDrive.
Yeah.
Weirdly, then suddenly you run out of space on OneDrive, and they're like, hey, man, you're out of space on OneDrive. Do you want to... Have you considered spying some space on OneDrive from us?
Yeah.
Because by default, it's 5 gigs only.
Yeah. And you get more if you subscribe to Live Microsoft 365, the Office thing.
Yeah, so she said, question, do I back up my PC to the Microsoft Cloud storage or opt out of backup? And I was like, hey, listen, opt out of backup for now. I'll send you an external drive. We'll set it up so that you
give her that
can...
loud SSD.
No, she didn't do that. But yeah, so I mean, she's the most basic of basic users.
Wow.
Really,
wow.
She just wants web browsing.
Can't believe you
and
call
then
your
Microsoft
grandma
Office.
basic.
Yeah, no, that's what she wants.
Not wearing the cool jeans.
That's why you do what I do, so I don't get those tech support calls. I got my grandma and all her community on Chromebooks, and I have not had a call in like 3 years.
Yeah.
Well, but can they run Word and Excel and stuff?
Absolutely.
Oh, really?
No,
online,
not at all. Yeah, in the cloud.
They can do the online version.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Huh.
That's the version that's good enough for me. I use that for all of the PCWorld benchmark charts, since you all don't let external people use the dedicated clients.
Well, yeah, we have Microsoft.
Thanks for that. Again.
Yeah, actually,
we're gonna be getting some new IT. Let's see.
Oh,
what
that's
happens.
true.
Yeah, maybe.
Put this on the list.
Oh, please.
The Will Smith Memorial feature.
There you go. I don't really have I don't have any experience with Chrome OS. I should try that out, I guess.
So it's great and simple.
Yeah,
it's great if you need simplicity.
Well, would you recommend that to Master Procrastinator?
It depends on what they use. If they need to use any kind of
not
desktop,
for gaming, yeah, because the budget gaming one for the nephew, yeah,
that's a Windows machine.
But he said one Nook for my brother-in-law, and that doesn't sound like it's a gaming machine.
I mean,
the Nook is a minis forum with a Ryzen 5 7640 HS
machine to put a Chrome OS Flex on. So I've used Chrome OS Flex a little bit lately. It's one of the things I recommended in my Windows 10 is going away at the end of the year newsletter a few weeks ago.
Wait, at next.content.
I wasn't going to plug it, but thank you.
Hey, yeah, you're welcome.
I appreciate that.
Subscribe.
And it's surprisingly competent for web browsing. Like I put it on a like 2012 era MacBook Air, and it feels faster than that machine has felt since it was pretty much brand new, because it is so light compared to a modern operating system. And it took like 5 minutes to install. I burned it on a thumb drive using Rufus, and I was good to go in like 30 minutes. Logged into my Google account, was right there. I don't know. Like, this is a real computer. This Ryzen 5 7640HS.
It's nice. Yeah. In US, I think it said it was $300.
Yeah. So I would consider like 16 gigs of RAM is a little light for Windows 11. I think it's probably fine for most stuff. But it depends on what they're using. If they're just using stuff in web browsers, then Chrome OS Flex is perfect. Yeah.
Also, and I appreciate this about my grandma. She definitely powers down her device when she's not using it.
Hell
so,
yeah.
You know, clean boot every time, and also she does not load up a bunch of tabs. So I did give her 32 gigs, but she probably could have gotten away with 16.
Oh yeah, grandma definitely could have.
Yeah.
One little practical tip, just from people who I know who have bought new computers over the last few years, coming from Windows 10, moving to Windows 11. It might not be applicable to your nephew because he might be used to like Chrome OS style center taskbars. But I've had several people call me and ask, "Hey, how do I get the Windows start button where it goes in the left?" So if your brother's like that, it might be worth just setting that up real quick.
Actually, I didn't even ask.
Look,
my grandma, I just put it on the left.
No, look, here's the thing. It's 2025. You all need to get with the center program.
She doesn't have ultra wide.
Look, it's easier to get to. It's right there. Just teach them to press the Windows key. That's the real power move.
I agree with all of this, but when mom and aunt and everyone's like, "How do I move to the left?" I just tell them how to move to the left.
Nope. You tell them to get with the future. Don't be like Adam and be an old guy. It's important to keep brain plasticity up by embracing change.
No, I'm good.
Embrace change.
Oh, you saying I should have put my grandma on Linux? Is that what you're trying to say?
It's the year of Linux, man.
Yeah. Hey, grandma, your brain elasticity. I want to make sure it's real malleable. Let's put you on Linux.
It's like we always say here at PCWorld, always be changing.
Yeah.
Embrace change.
Yeah. Embrace change,
We
grandma.
love change.
Come on. Yeah.
That's one of Gordon's favorite things was always change.
Yeah, exactly.
He was like, you know what I love is new. Look at how much he loved BTX.
Yes, exactly.
Embracing change.
Loved it. Okay, couple more and we're going to get out of here real quick. Friend of the show, very sneaky asks, is VRAM holding back the RTX 50 series of GPUs?
Maybe. Depends on the game.
It depends on the card as well.
I feel like the 5090 is probably fine with 32 gigs. Not too worried about that one.
Yeah, but who knows? Maybe you're running LLMs and you're like, dang, I wish I could get those more gigs.
Look, they have that giant version of the Blackwell card, the 96 gig one, for a reason.
Yeah.
So you can run like the full size LLMs on it.
Whew. Yeah.
But yeah, it depends on the card, depends on the game.
Yeah. What do you think, Brad?
I'm only majorly not concerned, but the only one I would say that possibly for is the 5070 because it has 12 gigabytes in a itty bitty bus.
Yeah.
So you're gonna have to play a 1440p with that. The rest of them, like, while you would like to see more memory, if you're spending $1,000 on a graphics card, 16 gigabytes is enough these days, I would say.
Yeah, and especially for like, right now, I think that the argument is always there's the outliers that would point to future performance, right? Like right now, like, I mean, something like Indiana Jones can take up, if you're really maxing it out, all the VRAM and more, and it's like, give me more. It'll eat all of it. But that's the outlier, and a lot of people are like, well, that outlier of today is going to be the norm of tomorrow. And actually, this kind of loops me back real quick to a discussion we had last week. Brad, last week, one of the questions I was having with Theo is like the naming conventions of graphical settings, because nobody wants to play on low. It doesn't feel good, right?
Yep.
And I don't know. I'm always somebody who's like, oh yeah, turn it up to ultra. You just default to turning everything up, and then you play the game of trying to figure out
Smooth 14.
Yeah, exactly. Then play the game of trying to figure out. Digital Foundry was talking. Sorry, I'm a broken record. I love Digital Foundry. Their recent episode of their podcast, they were talking about the graphical menu options as well, and they're like, what if we had something that was closer to console? I'm not saying we should have console style, but like one of the things I did love about Horizon was that they had an option that told you this was the default that it was on console.
Oh,
like
so-
if you want a console level
so-
experience, this is the default.
So you're saying if you wanted to get like the $600 PS5 experience on your $3,000 gaming PC, you could hit a button and make that possible.
well, at least know that that's like the baseline, right?
Yeah.
Because everybody goes into
That's what, as a PC gamer, I love the baseline.
well, yeah. Like why not?
I
think there's value. I think there's value in renaming it. I think that's what
Yeah.
Adam is getting at. Like, it's on what you call these things and saying, "Hey, console, sweet, I know what that is."
I mean-
I get that.
Well, but I also feel like everyone's like, what the hell? My new GPU can't play at Ultra. I feel like Ultra is there to be aspirational anyway. I don't think the default is Ultra. I think the default is somewhere in the middle, right? But they don't call it the standard experience. Or I do kind of okay. I do like the way that consoles say it of like right now, usually there's like an option of like balanced and performance and quality, right? Like I do think there is a PC version of that where it's like, hey, here's what the developer would recommend is like the balance kind of option, and then you scale out from there. So you say, hey, when you load up a game, you don't just turn it up to Ultra and then complain that you can't hit Ultra. You start somewhere in the middle, and yeah.
So yes, you're correct. 100% agree. However, in the real world, most developers who are doing this stuff, there's maybe one person at the studio that understands what the options in the set that you expose in the settings do. And typically that person is the least capable of communicating what this stuff means of all the people in the studio, at least the places that I've worked. So like we don't have an industry standards body about naming settings, because really what you need, and this is the thing I pushed for on the Anacrusis, was actually to have like text labels and then descriptions that told you what the thing does. And like, hey, at very minimum, it should say, this is going to use more memory. This is going to impact your GPU. Like this is going to have a major impact on frame rate, or this is going to have a minor impact on frame rate, stuff like that.
Gears Tactics is great for that.
Yeah, Gears Tactics had an incredible one. I played something the other day that had a really good one too, and I was like, oh man, this is fantastic. And I meant to write it down and I did not. The problem is, this is all stuff that happens at the very end, right? It's like, and it's again, it's one of those things we talked about last week with the guns. It's a multidisciplinary thing, because you have you have a UX. Usually, it's not like a video game control panel isn't like a CMS on a website where you fill out the headline, you fill out the deck, you put a picture in, and then you hit the button and it goes up the same every time. Like there's an engineer and an artist, and those two people are working together to take the thing that the artist designed and put the text in. So usually you need like somebody whose time is really, really valuable and really, really busy to check in these changes. So you try not to have it go a lot. So you don't do things like write long text descriptions, because you don't want to then have to have them copy fit those for the space that's on the screen when somebody plugs in, because at the end of the day, it all has to work not just on your nice 4K TV, but when somebody plugs their Xbox Series S into a 720p TV from like 20 years ago, it also has to work there. And Microsoft will bounce it if your text doesn't fit on that page. So you do the least common denominator almost always, which sucks, but that's kind of how it is.
Yeah.
Consoles, once again, ruining PC games.
That's the worst.
Yeah.
Nah, I just feel like there's room to figure this out, right? Because yeah. I do think there should be like, hey, you know what? I'm sorry I keep using this example, but like when you go to pick a difficulty for a game, it's like, hey, here's what the recommended setting is. You can choose to go down or you can choose to go up at maximum punishment. I think the same thing could almost be applied to settings of like, hey, listen, this is what we recommend. Yeah. And if you want to go further, that is on you. Go for it. But yeah, I don't know.
What if we just made a fake super low version that we call weenie mode?
Well, it's
potato mode.
Yeah, potato mode.
Well, actually, who is it? Somebody in the chat was like, I kind of like in Cyberpunk. Oh, here we go. Non-flying Finn says, I wish more game. Oh no, that's the wrong one. It's, sorry. Oh, here, Santino Joshua Torre. Do it like Cyberpunk Steam Deck settings, so it isn't too insulting. Because it's like the Steam Deck setting on Cyberpunk is potato mode.
It is potato mode, yeah.
But it's like, oh no, I have a Steam Deck. I'll hit the Steam Deck preset.
Yeah.
It's not, like that feels better than hitting the low preset, which I believe the Steam Deck preset is pretty much the low.
The psychological.
So would you call like the one that's designed to run on the 1080 Ti like the GOAT mode?
Yes.
Yeah.
Why not? Yeah.
Yes.
You get all your physics support.
I
32-bit.
I just look at this stuff and I think, so when we launched the Anacrusis in early access, we had all those settings in the control panels, but none of them were hooked up to anything. So people would go in and change the settings and be like, man, this game looks great on best mode, but when you're on the normal mode, it really looks like crap. And I was like, dude, it's exactly the same. None of this is like, it was in the patch note. Like we had it in the list of things that we have to do still.
That's funny.
But yeah,
See, a lot of it is perception.
Totally your perception.
Yeah.
And like you should just, I don't know, maybe settings were a mistake. Maybe you should just run it the way it's, the way the game's meant to be played.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. The way it's meant to be played.
Yeah.
I've heard of that.
Twin book.
Yeah. Okay. Anyway, one more question. We'll get out of here from the Funk Phenomena. Why does Adam hate Minnesota, especially when Best Buy is a northern Minnesota company?
Yeah. Why did you come out after Minnesota in that build last week or week before last? I missed that.
You're going to have to go back and watch the stream.
I can't watch it. It's really long.
And actually, I don't even remember either. But yeah, Minnesota.
It's cold.
It's the accent that gets me.
That's right.
That the accent
You're
just
against
rubbed.
Fargo people. That's
Yeah.
what
We were talking about Fargo.
Yeah.
It was just something about the accent.
You hate Frances McDormand, was my understanding.
I don't. No, I
She's
think
the
that
cop
actress
in
is
Fargo.
Yeah. The accent.
Also the mom in Almost Famous and a bazillion other things.
Yeah. Anyway, that's it for questions. We're gonna get out of here. Check back next week for your fix of PC Talk on the Full Nerd, which happens to be April 1st.
Welcome to Earth.
And I'll happen to be in the office next week.
What?
That's a joke.
I'm
That's a joke. April Fools.
I'm really
Got
curious.
'em.
I'm really curious. Last week at GDC is the first time I've been to GDC where I met a bunch of people that I've spent a lot of time on Zoom with in a while. It's always funny to figure out how tall people are because, like, my assumption is that people who are high in the frame are tall.
I know
and people
how
who are
tall he
low in
is.
the frame are short. And it's not at all. It doesn't align.
All right. How tall? You've never met
on.
Brad.
I've
How
never
tall
met
do you
Brad.
think?
I think
is?
I'm going to say 5'11" and a half.
Don't say. We'll have to see.
Yeah, we'll have to see.
Well,
5'11" and a half.
5'11"
So
and a half. Incredibly specific.
very specific. Okay. To listen
That
to
is
us.
awfully close.
We'll see. To listen to us on the go, subscribe to us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube Music, Pocket Cast, Deezer, anywhere you can point your RSS feed reader to, and hopefully we're there. If we're not, we will get Will on the case. He will make it happen. He's the man with the plan.
I can get you on any podcast service. If you have a podcast,
well, I have a podcast.
I'll get you on the podcast service.
Okay, that's great. Yeah. You can hire him separately. $200 an hour.
No,
maybe we'll give
more
you a deal.
than that for that.
Oh,
Actually.
okay. That sucks. Anyway, if you are on one of those services, please leave a review, a thumbs up, star rating, whatever you can, because every time you do, a new ray gets traced more efficiently.
Yeah, we ignore more rays out of translucent leaves.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That's my favorite thing to do.
Yeah.
I'm not good at this. Never
need a hug?
going to be as good as Gordon
a hug?
at this. Like,
You got to
moving
write
something back
this
in.
down when somebody says something stupid. You got to get it in here now so you have a callback later.
Yeah, something like that. Anyway, I want to thank everybody for joining us today, and definitely tune in next week because it'll be fun. I want to thank Brad Charkis for joining us remotely. Thank you.
Hey, no problem. You know how we went on Deezer last year? I believe it was last year, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
French music streamer Deezer made $500,000 in revenue, up 12% year over year. Earlier this
all
month.
because
You're
of the Full
welcome.
Nerd.
You're welcome.
Dang, look at that. Yeah,
there you go.
We're making business cases.
Once we hit
wow.
Deezer,
it
Just
went
takes
up.
off from there.
Do we have any reviews over there? Actually, I haven't even looked.
I'm looking right
Can you
now.
review
I don't
on
think
Deezer?
you can review on Deezer.
Well, that sucks. Anyway,
More like Deezer's.
thank you, Will, for coming and hanging out with us.
Hey, always a pleasure.
Yeah,
I'm always glad to be
you
here.
just do it out of the kindness of your heart. It's
exactly
so fun.
why. I love getting up in the morning and driving up to San Francisco because I get to experience the wonderfulness of downtown San Francisco on twice a week. It's very good.
And also, today you brought in a dream machine.
I did. I brought in the 2000. Can I say?
Yeah, I think we should do a video of it. This is apropos of nothing. Like, you brought it in because I'm working on a Gordon museum for the celebration of life on Saturday. But I think a lot of those things would be kind of fun to do a little video on.
So this was the 2004 one, which is the one that when I left Maximum PC in 2010,
I heard Linus hates that one.
when you search Dream Machine, Maximum PC Dream Machine, and then a year, you get sent to the threads on AnandTech and the Hard Forum and a couple of other Tom's Hardware, maybe places that still have their message boards up from then, where people are just absolutely ragging on the Dream Machines, because they were stupid. We knew that they were stupid when we were making. We just wanted to make a big, stupid, over the top PC every year, and like we were aware that the thing we were making was overkill. It was not a good value ever. It was never a good value.
No.
It was always like, hey, can we get
Sounds
something
like stuff
weird?
Gordon would work on then.
Yeah, it was something. Can we get something weird and esoteric and fun and jam it in a PC that no one should ever build or buy? And people on message boards, famously not humorous, unhumorous people or unserious people,
Just
hated
stay
that.
off those message boards.
But so I was gonna say, I talked to Jeff about this last week when I saw him at GDC, Craft Computing, Jeff, friend of the show, and I didn't like my experience as an editor at Maximum PC back then was just that everybody was always angry at us and yelling at us all the time, right? And when I come back now and I go to like GDC or go to events in the space and talk to people who grew up reading Maximum PC, are like, oh my God, we loved you. And I was like, I had no idea. Like we had no idea. Gordon and I talked about this for years because like we didn't realize that people actually liked the magazine. We thought everyone was just pissed off at us all the time.
Because that's all you would get.
Because that's all we would get is the negative feedback over and over and over again for years on end. It kind of breaks you in important ways.
But they'll keep buying the magazines.
Well, the magazine, like there was a thread on AnandTech on one of the Dream Machines I was looking up to help find something for Adam that was like, man, this rag is terrible. This is just an absolute piece of, but it's only $12, so I'm going to keep getting it. And you're like, okay,
a deal,
well, there you go. That was the best possible feedback we could have gotten back then.
Yeah.
So
you could have got a subscription to Maximum PC or
2
dozen
lattes
eggs right now.
Yeah, 2 lattes.
Anyway, longest outro ever.
Yeah, sorry.
I also want to thank the Verticals and Horizontals runner Willis Lai, who's going to take us out of here. Thanks, everybody.
All right. Thank you, Adam. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in and hanging out with us. I'm going to go into potato mode, and that means lunch. We'll see you later. Bye.
That was a good outro from Will. See, he called back the potato mode.
Yeah, see,
That was a really
he's a
funny
pro.
joke.
Yeah.
Potato.
I'm Jeff.
Potato.